Welcome to BouncyCast. This is going to be a very special episode. This is not going to be a guest episode, but this is going to be something we've been talking about for a while now.
I gotta shut my door.
This is kind of going to be like, I don't know whether or not this is going to be like kind of part one of the Matt debates people thing, or if it's just going to kind of be a standalone thing. But we're going to be talking about religion. Very fun topic. But don't worry, it's not just going to be like a bunch of boomers like talking about like the same thing the entire time. I think that it's pretty safe to say that the vast majority, at least several of us, have pretty differing views on stuff. So we're going to be talking about like from each of our perspectives and like asking questions once we've all introed stuff, and like kind of just like in segments. Like I'm going to lead and then whoever else wants to take it, and then like there's going to be questions if you have questions, all that good stuff. So we all ready, folks? We ready to get into this?
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
Yay.
Alrighty. So yeah, just before we start, we have the hosts here today. We have Leg, we have Shadow, we have me, Matt, we have Storm, and we have Taff.
Wow.
All here today to talk about this specially handpicked because they have more or less like solid views on stuff, and they are ready to debate and/or discuss this interesting topic. But yeah, so since I'm the one kind of shoehorning this and spearheading this, I'm gonna start off. So just to briefly describe of what kind of I believe. I'm a Christian, but specifically non-denominational, which means that I don't. I believe in the core message of the Bible, and any groups that like call themselves like super churches or the Catholic Church or the Mormon Church that like have extra stuff that you add on to the Bible. I believe that that's pretty against what the Bible says.
I think I cut out for a minute. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you should be fine, Storm. I don't see any problems.
Oh.
I mean, your local recording should be all right. Regardless, what's it called? So to just kind of jump into what I believe in, the thing that I usually like to kind of intro everything is, one of my primary beliefs is I believe that based on the way that the universe exists, there has to be a God. And I've definitely talked to some other people either in our audience or some of my co-hosts about this before, but basically I have studied a lot of, I've been a scientist or want to be a scientist, whatever you call that cutoff, for basically my entire life. So I believe that creationism and science are not mutually exclusive. I believe it's just as simple as when you start off Genesis, in the beginning there was nothing and God said let there be light, and like quite frankly nothing and then light sounds like an explosion to me. So that is pretty, at least clearly to me, like the way that the poetic way that Genesis is written.
I thought you were
going to
start at like the gospel, like doctrine. No, you're starting at like the actual beginning. I didn't think
the actual beginning. Yes.
I didn't think you were gonna kick off with in the beginning. I was like, oh, okay, we're starting here. Never mind.
No,
All
yeah,
right,
well,
cool.
Because I'm starting with the basics, because a lot of people think that like the core problem with Christianity is that like, or creationism in general is that like, oh, but science disproves it. It's like, no, like they're not mutually exclusive. The
I feel like your
I feel like your
primary.
Stephen Hawking,
Go on.
Stephen
What's
Hawking,
good?
like first proved, and then tried to disprove him again.
Yeah, like Stephen Hawking tried really hard, and like a lot of other people do try really hard, but it has always been my belief. I mean, I believe it's Einstein that said, at the beginning of the glass of natural sciences, you may find atheism, but at the bottom of the glass, you will find God. Like,
Yeah, that
at
was
some
him.
point. Yeah, at some point you talk, like, when talking about the way that the science of the universe is set up, it just screams a natural creator to me. And I'll explain, like, why that is to me in a bit, but like I said, starting from, literally in the beginning, creationism describes, because the way that Genesis is written is poetic, creationism describes the Big Bang. So they're not mutually exclusive. And then from there, it's just a matter of proving that that continues to be the case. For example, a lot of people are like, oh, the Earth can only be such and such years old because it was created in like 7 days, and that's the big thing. It's like, well, you have to think about it like the moon, the stars, and the Earth were not created until, if I'm not mistaken, around the 3rd day, depending on what you're specifically talking about. So if the Earth and the stars were not created until the 3rd day, then where is there any indication that the quote-unquote day is an actual 24-hour period.
You lost me. Like, full
That's a
disclosure,
good point.
you lost me a little bit.
Yeah, so, okay, think about it like this. So,
Yeah.
the way that we describe a day is in the period of the Earth spinning around, like the cycle of the sun through the sky, right?
Like what the Julian guys
If the
figured
sun
out.
does not exist, how could you determine how long a day was?
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah,
without being able to
right.
see. So, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's a
So
bit of
that's how
a
that
chicken
works.
and egg
Like-
fallacy going on there. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
That makes
exactly.
sense.
So,
Okay.
with that being established, I think that it's not a hard, like, extension off of that to go, okay, well, if it's not a 24-hour period, then couldn't it be any length of time? So couldn't it
I
also
suppose.
be
Actually, yeah, no, because
hundreds
like later
of
on,
trillions of years?
yeah,
Like,
later on in the
What if day
Bible.
meant something different?
What if what did what?
yeah, so
like,
there's...
like what was that? One more time.
What if day meant something different?
Well, yeah,
Oh,
so,
I gotcha,
and the
okay.
reason... The thing that I have been saying about this for a while is that, like, if you're not aware, all of Genesis and Exodus leading up to his story is from the perspective of Moses. God was talking to Moses to try to tell him how the world started, and Moses was writing these things down. So, from Moses' perspective, he's just like a stinky old dude living in the desert. It's a little bit hard to describe, oh yeah, and then the Big Bang happened, and then stars coalesced from free-floating atoms from that Big Bang, and then the other matter coalesced from that, and that's how the Earth was formed. Like, how do you explain that to someone who knows nothing about science? Well, you would describe it as, there was nothing, then there was light. There was formless, then there was a planet.
I think you're
that's
overstepping.
how you would describe...
You're stepping over something very crucial because I say most because I haven't read every single translation in
Okay.
existence, but the Bible explicitly states God breathed life into existence. Literally, He spoke it into like reality.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Perceivable reality.
And that
I guess,
is
for lack of a better term.
that is not an
Oh,
inconceivable notion from that. So think about it this way: if action does not exist, time does not exist,
Oh my God.
nothing exists, then the actual, like, any action, any breath, any sound, any energy or matter whatsoever, when time and space does not exist, would cause all of time and space to exist. So, like, it is a metaphorical sense, but it can also be literally a literal sense. If you are something outside of the concept of actions and you create the first action, then it's entirely possible that that is what would cause something like the Big Bang. I'll get into that in a second. That has to do with more of the causal side of my argument, but like I was saying, just very briefly, so like Genesis is basically kind of describing to Moses how the earth and everything was formed. So I do not think that it's mutually exclusive from concepts like evolution and concepts like the Big Bang, because the way that the earth was formed doesn't necessarily have to be like in a snap. It can be instead a gradual process of no like literal amount of time, no literal days, but like segments of time where God was slowly moving the world towards a certain point. Like, he is still creating things, but it is creating it through a slow gradual process, like where he creates a couple of creatures that, you know, like, for example, the sludge that eventually evolved into DNA. It was supposed, like, according to some theories, it is a completely random process. I think that it makes a lot of sense that it could be just it could just be like God oversaw, like, whatever lightning bolt or whatever caused the soup to catalyze into the first RNA, which then went into the first DNA, which then went into the first multicellular organism, and then like slowly moving towards actual life. And then when it came to humans, that was the only being that he gave the gift of sapience, which is the ability to recognize itself and its place in the universe, and more importantly, him. There is no other animal that we know of in existence that has full sapience. Things like dolphins have sentience, which means that they understand vague, like, concept and emotion, but they do not, as far as we can tell, have a full grasp of sentience. And
But we don't.
sapience rather.
We
To
don't.
what
That's
to what
the
extent,
thing.
like, what do we not perceive?
Yeah, to what extent do we not perceive?
Well, sapience is a thing that we have to learn. You can't say that you've learned everything about existence.
No, we're not capable.
That's
of,
not what
we're not
sapience
capable of
means.
omnipotence.
Like
That's not what
90 or
sapience
still
is.
is.
Our like
So yeah,
actual physical.
that would be that would be omniscience, which means that you know physically everything. Sapience is an understanding of a greater. Sapience is the desire to like know more about the universe and your place in it. It is a sense of self, but also a sense of self as related to the greater whole.
Matt, let
There is-
me break it down,
Simply
Matt.
just curiosity.
Okay, go ahead.
Everything has curiosity.
I'm gonna bring it to like not I don't want to say video game terms, sort of like tabletop game terms. So, what's it called? Yeah, like in Dark Souls or like even in D&D. So if you either have enough skill points or don't have enough skill points, or a proficiency or a deficiency to wield something, sapience is being able to both perceive and wield, maybe not properly, but wield knowledge of like self-awareness, a higher power, the existence of a higher power, all that good stuff. But
Yeah,
omnipotence.
the very,
no. Omniscience. Sorry, I misspoke. Omniscience is being able to actually wield that knowledge, over other creatures, over other individuals and beings. Right? We don't have that.
so
We're not God. We can't
the easiest,
flip the earth on its head.
Okay, but monkeys
the
use
easiest
rocks
way
and
the
tools.
easiest way to describe it is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Most animals have the ability to have knowledge. Like a monkey can make a crude tool. A dolphin can use another fish to do one thing or another. But there's a difference between that and wisdom, which is a innate understanding or a innate like taking your experiences and putting in a genuine meaning to them. And it's possible that like I don't know everything. It's possible that there are other life forms out there with sapience. I don't say that that necessarily disproves what I believe in, but so far as we know, according to like the research we've done, like nothing quite reaches our level of sapience, where we are taking more than just knowledge, we are making extrapolations about the greater meaning of it all. Like the fact that we have things like philosophy is a part of sapience. It is the idea that we are taking a greater meaning and extrapolation from what we know.
Okay, you did not use that word correctly. I'm gonna call you out on that one.
It's a very difficult concept to explain. I'm not perfect at
rightfully
explaining
so.
that concept.
You're trying to explain the concept that's hard to explain. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is a very hard concept.
It's
fun
almost
part
like
about
we
the
have
gaming.
those types
But-
of psychological limitations, the ones we're discussing as we
Suffice
speak.
to say,
It's been
our
10
brain
minutes already.
operates on a different. Yeah, our brain operates on a different wavelength. We have more capacity for understanding than any other creature. I don't think that that's a unfair thing to say. Even the smartest dolphin does not really come close to the average human. But at the same
Only
time,
like 3.
that at the same time, that again, it has more to do with the understanding of the universe and all that good stuff. Anyways, so moving on from that, there is a lot of other stuff with that where it's like, I don't think that it's impossible. Basically, my point being, I don't think that it's impossible that God is working through the natural processes of the universe to create it. It's more of a concept of like this stuff didn't just happen, it was being guided towards something. Because I look at the infinite complexity of the universe and don't think this just kind of happened as a random coincidence. It's an awful lot of coincidences in a row. So it is entirely possible that, I mean, at least from my perspective, what I believe in, I think that it is because it has been guided by a creator. And more so, I believe that a creator has to exist, and I've had this argument with people before, because of causality and the way that the universe works.
I think
Basically, and
What does causality mean again?
okay, causality is basically the concept of cause and effect. Every cause has to have an effect. Every effect has to have a cause. If something hits something, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It is
Right.
moved by some other force. It's Newton's, I believe, second law, which is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If I hit something, it is not just me in a bubble, all of a sudden something gets hit. It is my body produces energy. That energy comes from food. That food came from another energy source.
I remember now.
Oh, so on and so forth. So,
Yeah.
and this
High
is
school was just
also
too
what.
long ago.
I think
Yeah,
I
this
think Lake
is
had a
also what.
point that
I'm sorry, Lake. One more time.
No, that's cool. I'll let him finish. Like, I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah. So the extension of that would be, and this is a thing that this is not just coming out of nowhere. I studied some philosophy when I was back in school. And one of the things was, I believe it was Socrates. I could be mistaken. It could be like Diogenes or one of those other philosophers. I believe it was Socrates, though. Believed in not only logic but also, like, math and science. They pioneered the idea of causality, that everything has to have an effect. Nothing just happens in a bubble. There is a reason why everything happens. And from what we know about that today, especially the concept of entropy, is everyone familiar with what entropy is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I think
cool.
you should articulate it anyway, though.
Yeah, I probably should articulate it just to be clear.
Oh, God.
Entropy is the briefest
Oh my
way
gosh.
to explain it, and the easiest way to explain it is, say you have a box, a completely sealed box, and you put a cup of coffee in that completely sealed box. That coffee, like the warmth of the coffee, is either going to cool down to the outside temperature or warm the box up. It wants to create an equilibrium. It is the concept of nature abhorring a vacuum. If there is no air or no heat in an area, it wants to expand to that. That is why we believe that the Big Bang was such a plausible theory, is because as the universe is clearly expanding. It is going further out. It is trying to fill that empty space around us. It is trying to cool. It is trying to reach that equilibrium part because it doesn't want the vacuum that exists right now. Because of that, the natural, like, looking at that in reverse means that at some point it was all as close as possible together, as hot as possible, all in one space, and that's the Big Bang. The extension of that being, where did the Big Bang come from? Because there are not really any theories that explains that. Because if all of matter and energy existed from the Big Bang, like the second before the Big Bang happened, there was no matter, there was no energy, there was no nothing. There was not even time, because time exists exclusively on the mass, the energy, and the gravity in an area. And gravity is also based on mass.
I want to interrupt here.
Hit it.
I have seen one theory, I forget where, but the theory is that the Big Bang started from the collapse of another universe.
But then the natural extension would be, where did that universe come from? Where did that universe come from? It doesn't matter how many, like, theories there are about,
be a
this
reset.
universe existed before. The
A very
thing
big
would...
reset.
Yeah, okay. If there even is a great reset, the natural extension would be, like, where did that universe come from? Where did that one come from? Like, no matter how many resets and Big Bangs happen, there has to be an origin point for things, because, again, based on causality, every effect has to have a cause. So if there was a universe before ours, where did that one come from? Okay. And if that one came from another universe,
at that
where
point,
did that
it's
one come
just the
from?
chicken and the egg.
Yeah, exactly. It's
all
just a
over.
chicken
Matt,
and the
Shadow,
egg situation.
This exact topic. So I knew someone was either going to mention chicken and the egg or what I'm about to mention. So I'm going to bring it up before you guys catch me. Get me with a catch-22. So an illustration that was provided to me. It's a bit of a rudimentary illustration, metaphor, example, whatever you want to call it. Okay, say it's sort of asimilar to your coffee in the sealed box, Matt. But here's the big deal, right?
Okay.
Big Bang Theory implies that a lot of just huge galactic universal compression and energy and, like, atoms all rubbing together and a big fucking just absolutely nutty explosion happens and just creates the entire universe. First of all, the odds of that are astronomical. They're like, well, it occurred over billions and billions of years, and the odds are gonna, like, it's like winning the lottery. Someone's gonna win the lottery sooner or later. The universe had to be created at some point. I'm like, okay, cool. So let's start at this giant universe, and you say the universe is infinitely expanding. It still has to be within a contained area. It still has to be that you can't make matter, you can't make energy. All the energy that's being compressed, all the energy that's being quote unquote rubbed against each other to explode and make the universe, it's still finite. There's still a specific amount to make a specific amount and generate a given universe. I'm not done. So here's the little metaphorical example. Here's the physical example that was provided to me by someone with a PhD. I'm not going to say who, because obvious reasons, like no name drops, right?
Me.
Fucking bear with me for a moment. This the example they provided for me was, say you have a box, right? Sealed, unsealed, doesn't fucking matter. Nothing's getting out of it because you have a dickload of Legos in there. You have a specific set of Lego pieces for a specific set of Lego items, or a specific set of a Lego creation, right? Say you have all, what is it, like 5,000 something pieces for the Death Star now. I don't remember what the new one has, but say you have like God.
I think it's
don't think it matters.
10,000.
Seriously, say you have
I
fuck all
do not think that it
10,000
matters.
pieces for the new Death Star. You have it in a box, right? Sure, you can shake the box up and like you can jerry-rig some godforsaken mechanism on the inside that pushes them all together and smashes them all together, right? And tries to mash them together to actually build the Death Star within that box, right? Within the limited area that doesn't add or take away any more mass or atoms, I guess, or like. Masses, I guess, like matter itself, right? It's not going to add or take away anything. You have a specific amount to create a specific device, a specific result, which is infinitesimal. The odds of that happening, you just shaking the box around for all the little pieces, all the tiny little studs are falling there, infinitesimal. Well, if you do that for, 70 billion years, it's going to happen. Okay, splendid argument. It's like saying if I throw all my fucking laundry in the laundry machine and it spins for 18 trillion years, I'm going to open it and my shit's going to be folded. Impossible. Literally not going to fucking happen. But it could.
Yeah, okay,
right?
it's the monkey and the typewriter argument. It's the monkey and the typewriter argument.
Yeah, no, okay.
It's literally
exactly,
given enough
exactly.
time, anything can physically happen.
So with that in mind, okay, this is an argument that someone who does believe in the Big Bang Theory as truth, as the like inception of the universe, right? And does not believe in a creator, does not believe in a higher power. I'm like, okay, cool. They were sprinting, they were running with this argument, with this example with me because they were like, oh no, I've got him at a catch-22 because, I guess a catch-22. I was gonna say Murphy's Law, but that's a different concept. He's like, it can happen at some point because give it enough time and it's gonna happen. Okay, cool. And I was like, so there's something you're completely missing. Sure, you keep all the matter inside of that box and you shake the box for a trillion years. What's happening outside of that box that is completely exclusive from the items or the events occurring inside of the box?
Okay, yeah, that's
Someone
that's a
has to
wonderful
shake.
segue into it.
Someone
Yeah,
has.
exactly. That's a
I'm not,
wonderful
someone has to
segue.
shake the goddamn box.
Fuck.
Somebody actually has to
Yeah.
put that action in motion. Right? It's not just gonna happen on its
Yeah.
own. If you set the box down, what's gonna happen? Jack shit. Nothing. Literally fucking nothing.
So
Inception has to
so
occur.
as an
A higher
extension
power
to that,
has to go into
can I
effect.
can I finish my argument?
Yes,
that
you may
was actually
continue
a
now.
really good metaphor to what I was saying. That is
Exactly.
kind of similar. So even further than that, even ignoring that particular analogy, because obviously that analogy is not perfect. You think about it like even if there's a universal collapse which led to the Big Bang, like I said, that universe had to come from somewhere. Eventually you're going to get to a point where did it all come from? If there was someone that did something, there has to be, like one of the things that Socrates was saying, there has to be an unmoved mover, which is the concept of if everything comes from something, then for everything to start, for there to be a point at which something started and just that's where everything came from. The thing that made that happen has to ignore our current laws of physics. Because think about it this way. If there is no matter and energy, then something creating matter and energy can't, by definition, be made of matter and energy. It has to be something made of something else entirely. And by that definition, if you are not made of matter or energy, then you are outside of the concept of power. So you are omnipotent. That is the best way to put that. And because there's no matter and energy, there is no space and there is no time. Because space and time are completely 100% linked to the concept of matter and energy. So by definition, the being, whatever you want to call it, that is creating matter and energy, and by extension space and time, has to be outside of space, so omniscient, and outside of time, so timeless. The being in question would basically be the concept of a circle, where no matter how far back you went, you would never find the beginning. No matter how far forward you went, you would never find the end. It has to, by definition...
Anomaly.
Yes, it has to be a paradoxical anomaly. And by definition, if they are the unmoved mover, they cannot be bound by our laws of physics, because they're creating the laws of physics. And from our laws of physics, you can't create matter and energy. So they can't be made of matter and energy because they wouldn't be able to create it then. It's a little bit of a weird concept to wrap your head around, but that's basically what I would believe in. It is very similar to his Lego anomaly, where it's like the Legos wouldn't happen without nothing. They have to be there from an outside source. It's like the concept of an AI creating it's like the concept of creating a video game. A video game can't create another video game because if it does, then who created that first one? And so on and so forth. It has to be a force completely outside of the concept of a video game. It has to be someone that's not a video game creating that.
Right, naturally.
It is basic. Yeah, it is just by definition the way that works. It has to be someone outside of space, someone outside of time, someone outside of the concept of power and knowledge, and by definition, that makes them infinitely so of all of those things, both zero and infinity, essentially at all times.
Right.
So it would
Do you think it's a someone or a something?
Okay, so that is what I was going to touch on next.
Cthulhu.
That is okay. Yes. So if you want to that is just.
Are you gonna segue now?
prove
Are you
that
gonna
there has
transition
be-
to another topic right now?
Okay, I'm kind of going into it. This is just
Before
to
you do
prove
that, let Leg
some...
do his bit,
No.
branch off
Okay,
topic that he wanted to
I'm
do.
not going somewhere completely different. This is just saying.
It's
This
still
is
in.
just
Okay.
It's still
Yeah.
in this.
Okay.
we're good.
Yeah.
Just to wrap
It's
up
cool, bro.
the thought there is that this does not prove that Yahweh, the specific God that I believe in, exists. This proves that a omnipotent, omniscient, all-knowing, all-existing God
Entity.
has to exist at some point. A God has to exist is what this proves. That is just a stepping off point to go on to what I believe.
Right.
And this is me, just brief disclaimer here. This is saying I believe that a God has to exist, by definition, based on the way that I believe causality works. But I am now going into, I can prove that a lot of this stuff in the Bible happened, but at some point I am not going to be able to scientifically, factually prove to you this God 100% exists. I don't have a video camera of Jesus resurrecting from the dead.
Kickstarter didn't happen, bro.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Bro, he hit
at some
Jesus,
point,
Jesus hit a clip. Xbox records.
Yeah. This is literally we are now segueing into the I really believe this, but this isn't 100% provable because it's faith. It's religion. It's faith. So, okay.
It's belief.
That being said,
Idea.
like I said, the creator stuff, the stuff in Genesis that was very accurate to what we now know of how the world works. There's a lot of other points in the Old Testament where they talked about having a vision, describing historical events, and when you look at the vision in context, it's like, that really is reminiscent of the way that things actually happened hundreds of years before they happened. And you can make the excuse, oh, well, that's just you're just interpreting it that way, you're just seeing what you want to see. Sure, to some extent you can make that argument, but at the same time,
it could be that way.
awful. It is an awful lot
And
of
it could start raining ravioli.
coincidences.
It could.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's, again, is an Occam's razor argument, where there's a lot of coincidences, and I think that the the easiest explanation might be the true one, that these people had some indication of what might have been happening next, and that was because God told them. And that is part of why I believe that God does exist. Further from that point, there are a couple stuff in the New Testament that also prove that some things happened. One of the things that I'd like to establish right away, because if anybody makes this argument, they are factually wrong. Jesus Christ of Nazareth existed. He was a real, at the very least, real person. There is no arguing that point. There are historical records that he existed.
And also an entire fucking tomb, a cross.
Yeah, there are historical
places where he
sites.
was in his
There
stories
are,
with actual
yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to. And you and I have read the same book that I base a lot of the New Testament stuff off. The Case for Christ. I highly recommend. The Case for Christ is an amazing book. If anyone wants to look into that out there,
It's
even if you don't
super
believe
overrated,
anything that
though.
it says.
There's better books that I've read. Okay,
Okay, it is
okay.
Taff.
I'm sorry.
It is not a perfect book by any means. However, it is a
I'm
good
not saying
starting
it's imperfect.
point.
I'm saying the Case for Christ is
Taff.
the Call of Duty of religious books. Everyone's read it, everyone's played it, everyone knows it in and out, or is
I've
familiar
never
with
heard
it to
of it.
some extent. And then there's what's
Yeah,
the way
a lot of
describing
people
this?
still have. Okay. This is a completely separate thing. Can I please finish what I was saying about it first? Your thoughts on the book aside, it is one of the books that almost, if you talk to somebody about the provable aspects of Christianity, they are almost always going to recommend you read The Case for Christ. In that way, it is the book that everybody reads. Not everybody recognizes it though, Taff, so I am going to talk about it because while it is not the most in-depth book ever, it does not have the most pertinent like, it is not perfect, it does not have absolutely all the answers. It is a relatively simplistic way to understand these things. However, it is a good starting off point if you don't know any of these things that I'm going to say, or you're curious, or you want to get into it. I think the Case of Christ for Christ literally recommends that you read some other books at the end of it. There are some other books that are available. This is a really good starting off point, though. I highly recommend looking into it. But basically, the Case for Christ is a guy who was formerly an atheist, one with a law background, who was vehemently trying to disprove that Christianity couldn't even happen from a historical...
Vehemently. Matt.
Okay, dude,
Come on.
Jesus Christ.
This is your first language, dude.
I say vehemently.
Okay.
Then you say it wrong.
Taff,
You're stupid.
what did I say about interrupting people when they were trying to say something,
Okay,
dude?
I get
that
that.
was specifically for you. Can I
we
finish
all
what
do
I'm
it.
saying? You're taking away
Can
credence
you?
from my
Hey,
argument.
Leg's
by
on my
making fun of me.
side. Leg just came to my rescue just now. You're gonna pretend like you didn't say
a
anything.
jump in debate.
I can't even hear Leg over you. What's going on, Leg?
Shouldn't it be a jump in debate?
Yeah.
No, I have nothing wrong with it being a jump in debate. I just get irritated when somebody jumps in and goes, "Oh, your grammar's incorrect."
Yeah, because, okay, grammar is presentation 101. If
Okay.
you're trying to make a point, you may want to do it accurately and correctly with whatever language or medium you're presenting it in, right?
Okay.
If I'm giving
Yeah,
you a
regardless,
PowerPoint presentation
regardless,
for
can I-
why Christ is real, and I start off with, what's the song that's in, like, every, like, 2013 kind of, like, like, if I play fucking Skrillex over the Case for Christ, no one's going to be super interested in it because I used 2012 PowerPoint and I have the worst transitions and the lowest
hypercam music.
Exactly. So the presentation is everything. If you're gonna tell me, yes, Jesus is
All right,
real,
okay.
watch me abuse the English language that I'm trying to explain the
Okay,
case for
guys.
Christ in.
We've been on this for like half an hour, and we've
Yes,
gotten
Jesus.
It's a
effectively 5 minutes worth of actual...
Nowhere. Yeah, effectively nowhere because I keep... Okay, can I just... He very fervently was arguing against it. Does that sound better?
I mean, yeah.
Regardless,
I just wanted you to pronounce it correctly.
That straight
That's
up
all I
doesn't
wanted.
matter.
Yeah, agreed. It does not matter. It has
It is
nothing to do with my
irrelevant to the
argument.
topic.
Regardless, moving on. The point being, he came from a very against Christianity background, and the whole point of the book initially was to look at things from like an archaeological, a historical, and a witness like debate way. Like if you have a witness that you're not sure is telling the truth, the ways that you try to tell if they're telling the truth is a couple of like cross-examination things. It's what people do in a court when they get a witness and they're cross-examining. They're trying to poke holes in their argument by being like, say for
They're trying
example,
to find
I'm up on a
contradictions. They're trying to find
witness.
paradoxes, yes.
They're trying to prolapse...
That's contradictions. That is the same word. Anyways, like say for example, I'm the witness to a murder. I saw somebody get shot in the back of the head, and right after that, a cyclist like screeched off the road, hit a car, and then the car hit a fire hydrant. Right? To cross-examine me, you would try to find like either other witnesses that would disagree with me or other things. Like say for example, you go to the intersection and that fire hydrant's perfectly fine and it's never been broken. Then
There's
that
no
would be a
bike
pretty
lane,
blatant
there's
hole
no
in
nothing.
Exactly. That would be a pretty blatant hole in my argument. But if you did go to that place and you're like, oh yeah, this fire hydrant's clearly been hit by a car, then that would give you more credence to my story. That would not necessarily mean that 100% of what I said was accurate, but that would give me more relevancy. And that is why I bring up things like the Case for Christ and a lot of the arguments that it makes about archaeological digs, about historical records. That does not necessarily prove that, Jesus Christ was God and he rose from the dead kind of thing. But it does prove Jesus existed, the places they talk about were real, the places that they were describing actually, that those things happened. Like he was crucified with these people, the trial actually happened. Like to some extent, there is going to be an aspect of, there is going to be an aspect of, okay, I just believe this, but there is also an aspect of like, okay, these things happened, now it's up to you to decide whether or not you fully believe them. I'm not going to convince you. All I can do is hope and pray that the Holy Spirit moves in you because I genuinely believe these things, and that's about all I can do. But I can back up a lot of the things that I'm saying with actual things that actually happened. For example, there is a lot of historical records of crucifixion actually happening. It is usually only reserved for those that they deem is a very big either threat to the government or the people are extremely mad at, which makes a lot of sense when you look at Jesus from the context of the area. The Jews, especially the religious higher-ups that Jesus frequently made fun of,
The Sanhedrin.
did not like Jesus. The Sanhedrin, exactly. They did not like Jesus very much at all. They thought that he was a blasphemer. They thought that he was actively, I mean, like, for example, if somebody were to come up to your religion and say that I am now God, then if you did not prove that they were telling the truth, you would be pretty pissed off too. That is basically what happened. I believe that Jesus was telling
They
the
didn't
truth.
just accuse him of blasphemy. It wasn't just about. They were like, okay,
It wasn't
he's
just.
possessed. He's psychotic. He's had a
There was
near-death
that-
experience.
that-
He's traumatized. They came up with everything.
There is a
right?
lot of there's a lot of different arguments that they were making. Basically, they did the pretty basic, like either he's lying or he's crazy. Which is where there's
old reliable.
the old reliable and if you know anything about Christian debate and like debating atheism versus Christianity, there is an argument that a lot of people are going to be familiar with is called the 3 L's argument, where it is when you're looking at the case of Jesus, there are three things that you can
remember
assume
this
about
one.
him. Either you are, and the case for Christ does touch on this pretty extensively, either you think that he's lying, where he like some of the stuff that he's saying is true and made a lot of sense, but some of the stuff he's just lying about, like he's not actually Jesus, he was just lying about that part, which, you know, obviously sheds a little doubt on the other stuff. If you think that he's lying, then maybe some of the other stuff that he says wasn't completely accurate. Either that, or you think that he's crazy. Nothing he says makes any sense. He's just a madman. He's like, he's gotten like a psychotic break or something like that. That's another argument. The third natural conclusion, if he's not lying and he's not crazy, then he's God. Like it is liar,
Okay,
lunatic, Lord.
Matt, real
That
quick,
is the
genuine
that is the basic argument, anyways.
genuine thing. You brought up the 3 L's as an illustration for the 3 explanations for the whole case for Jesus, like the whole Jesus debacle, right? The Jesus arc, if you will. You brought it up as
Jesus
the
arc.
3 L's, and then you failed to use more than one of the L's.
No. I said at the very beginning. That's why they're called the 3 L's, because the 3 L's argument is broken down into liar, lunatic, Lord.
You never used lunatic or Lord. You never said those words specifically. I was listening
I
for them.
just did, dude.
You used the
Please let me
illustration.
finish.
You said he's either lying, he's crazy, or he's God. That was your
This
final.
doesn't matter.
This doesn't matter.
Let's just
Again,
continue.
This
Butchered
is the
the 3
second
L's.
thing, dude. I'm not
articulate a
going to
theory?
let you speak if you continue to do this, man. This is I need to be able to get out. I'm genuinely trying to tell where I'm coming from, and I'm trying to not get mad about this, but this kind of thing does not matter. Can we leave this kind of thing till the end? If you want to
say-
poke fun of the way that I said things at the
I'm not
very end
poking
of
fun.
this,
It's a genuine objection. If you're going to present something, right, and you're going to format it as the 3 L's, what happened to the other 2 L's? That's a genuine objection. If you're not going to come full circle on your side of the debate, right? Why would I listen to you?
Well, okay, the thing is, we don't have all the answers.
No, we don't.
We're just a bunch of people.
Yeah,
on
and
a
I'm
Discord
I'm
I know
also
we don't
I am
have all the
also
answers. I'm saying if you're
I
gonna
am
present
not a
something,
religious
you may wanna cover all
scholar.
your bases.
I am not a religious scholar. I am not going to explain this argument perfectly. I'm just bear with
so-
me on a lot of these things, please.
We're all in college.
And it's been about 40 minutes,
yes,
and we're still
I
stuck
don't-
on him.
I don't
almost.
want
We've
to
covered
talk for
5
this
different
entire-
topics. What do
for
you mean
like-
still stuck?
Regardless, okay, finishing up what I'm saying, like I said, the 3 L's argument, because the argument's broken down into liar, lunatic, Lord. He's either lying, he's either crazy, lunatic, or he is God, Lord. So that is the basic premise of that argument. That is, I mean, some people might argue with that, like, dichotomy. I guess it's trichotomy, I guess is the word for that. But that is the basic argument when looking at it. And there are a lot of things that would suggest that, like I said, at some point you just kind of have to believe that Jesus was telling the truth, because there's not a lot you can do to 100% prove that guy was God. Because, again, how do you do that? Especially 2,000 years ago. But there's and like if there's anything that y'all want to like talk about that, this is towards the end of my argument. This is literally just me saying I believe this is true. I can go on to talk about the implications of if he is God and what that means for me, but if somebody wants to jump in and talk about like what they might believe about Jesus, now would be the time.
May I?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead. Absolutely.
All right, I have a few things here. I agree with. I'm going back to that thought of God breathing life into the world.
Right. Okay.
That might be just an interpretation of saying that it was an idea, and that idea formed into reality because God itself in this
Yes.
hypothetical is an anomaly.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, so-
I'm
so
saying
base-
the
yes, that is
unabated
the basic
translation
premise.
of the Bible is that's the repeated text. That's text that's brought over from other translations. That like they maintain
Yes.
the integrity of that specific set of words, right? That specific translation, quite literally, transcription. That's the word I'm looking for. They maintain the integrity of those specific, the concept of quote unquote breathing, exhaling life into existence, right? Why is that so important?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they maintain it? Why wouldn't they just say, God made that shit happen, hallelujah, we made it, right? Why would you make that
Well, because you
specification?
need
So
you need
the
explanations.
the concept is, so yes, if you don't believe that Yahweh, the Christian or Jewish or Islam, whatever God you believe, if you don't believe that that is God, but you believe there is some God, in that concept, yes, the concept of breathing life into people would be a metaphorical way of saying this, that at some God, even if you don't believe it's this God, the concept is, yes, they were guiding life to happen. They caused humans to exist. That is the idea, that they are having an intimate part in the creation process. So if you don't believe that Yahweh exists, that is still a legitimate concept, that whatever God you do believe in, whatever God there is, whatever anomaly or Cthulhu or whatever creature exists, this like infinite being caused life to happen in the
Exactly.
Christian faith. That is literally breathing in life to them. Again, Genesis is written metaphorically and poetically. It's not necessarily 100% literal. You can believe that some of the stuff that it is literal. There is interpretation to have there, though. But yes, absolutely. I'm just agreeing with you. I'm saying that that's totally true. You can keep going.
So, I believe that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit thing could be taken a little bit more literal.
Right.
Elaborate.
Okay.
I think that beliefs and ideas from anything, and I mean anything that's living, has some sort of comprehension of existence. Just ideas become reality lightly. I think it's not just one person dreams something and it becomes true. I believe it's a mass amount of people articulating the same idea and just dreaming it becomes true. It
Right.
becomes true to an extent. Like a what do you call
Fever
it?
dream or lucid dreaming?
I suppose, but also
So what you're saying
I
is
don't know
like
what it's called.
the concept of the human soul interacts with the actual universe, and that's
Yeah.
what. Okay, so
I'm agnostic, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going
absolutely.
off of multiple different religions' beliefs.
right,
You guys know about alchemy?
Yeah.
the concept
I
of
believe-
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah,
good
that's
show.
spiritualness. I think that kind of equivalent exchange
He said it.
is true to an extent. Yeah,
So-
I watched Full Metal
See
Alchemist.
the
May I
line,
interject-
Bart.
may I interject really quickly and kind of like extrapolate what I think that there's an aspect
Sure,
of Christianity with that. So, what I will say is that one of the core Christian beliefs is that God created humans in his image. If God is a being not made by matter or anything, then I think that it's a natural extrapolation that he is made of whatever it is that souls are made up of. Because obviously
Yes.
souls are not physical matter. So by extension for that, there is some aspect of it like, well, humans have souls. Humans were created in God's image to have souls. That is part of sapiens. So there is some interaction between human souls and like the ultimate perfect soul of God. Like there
Doesn't that make life God?
okay,
the
so
idea of
to
creativity
some
and just
yeah, well
existing?
that is kind of the
Everything
Christian
is.
concept, because we act the way that we do, we live the way that we do because we're created in his image. The concept of creativity, the concept of love, the concept of wanting to better ourselves and those around us is God. It is the perfect embodiment of what he is. Love and justice and creativity and joy. That is what God is supposed to exemplify. So the little things,
Ideas.
the ideas of that are what are the every good thing that humans have are said to be the ultimate exemplification of God. So like we don't have perfect love, we don't have perfect joy, we don't have perfect creativity, but that is what God's supposed to be. That is what we're working towards.
So, you guys remember? This is going to be a little bit of whiplash verbally here, but you guys remember The Guardians, like that movie with like Santa Claus and Jack Frost.
I
and all
do
that
remember
where
that.
Chris
Yes.
Pine did Jack Frost, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty great,
So,
actually.
You know how people did not, like, they could not see those entities
Because
when
they didn't believe.
did not believe in them?
Talking about, yeah.
What if it's just like they don't exist unless you have the idea? The
It's
belief
possible.
is
So
God.
yeah, okay. You
whatever
can.
the hell it is.
There is an aspect. Some people do believe that like God only exists when you believe, and like it's all a matter of what you believe. That is a very agnostic thing. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that. I will also say, I just wanted to real quick to interject, the concept of us not having the perfect of any idea, like, you know, love and beauty and creativity are not perfect for us, and that being like a divine thing, that is also a very Greek philosopher thing. Many early Greek philosophers talked about how, like, you know, as a human, there are some things that you inherently understand. There are some concepts that you inherently go, flowers are going to be beautiful, like, not necessarily every flower, but there are just some things that you naturally go, oh, that's pretty. Or you just look at something and go, that's nice. Or loving somebody, for the vast majority of people, there are people who are different, but the vast majority of people, loving somebody makes them feel better. Like, creativity is something that almost everybody has. Like, it is that is a very Christian concept of we are just exemplifying tiny aspects of the perfect thing that is God. Like, God is love, God is beauty, and that is why we recognize love and beauty. That is the idea of objective morals rather than subjective morals.
So, taking it to a literal sense, God is literally just the thoughts. It's what makes us think. It's literally just consciousness.
So that is some aspect of it. It has to be
in the sky. It's just thinking.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are some interpretations of that. Like I said, I think that Yahweh is a physical. Okay, so like I said, God is not a physical entity. God is not in a specific point. You can't put God into a box. God is everywhere, every time, and omnipotent. So to some extent, God is not made of matter. He is made of the concept of a soul. He is made up of, like, not even energy. It's hard to describe what you would call something like that. So
He's not bound by physical limits.
Exactly.
He's a corporeal
so there
being.
is a concept,
that's what I'm thinking of.
Like for example, the Bible literally calls God on multiple occasions, refers to him as love. That is what he is, the exemplification of love. He is perfect love. So to some extent, he is not so much guy in the sky that shakes his fist at us as much as he is the concept of the emotion, the perfect form of it. And the idea of the Trinity is not so much three separate entities, because the Trinity is not. It is the idea of three entities that are also one entity at the same time. They can move independently, but they also move all at once. They are simultaneously three and also one. It is another paradoxical concept, just like the fact that God doesn't have an end or beginning. God is, by definition, something that we can't comprehend. Just like, you know, how H.P. Lovecraft talks about how, like, when you would go to Cthulhu or whatever, your brain would short circuit just trying to comprehend it. To some extent, that's also kind of how God works. The reason why, as a human being, and there are multiple instances of this in the Bible where they're going to meet God and God is like, don't look at me, bro. You're not going to do, this is not going to go well for you. It is because we are not perfect. We have what is called sin, which is not the perfect exemplification of God, and that prevents us from having perfect understanding of everything. We're not omniscient, so we can't comprehend a being that is by definition everything. It is literally infinity. Your brain cannot even physically comprehend that concept without shutting down. And that is only if you are trying to comprehend the fact that he's everywhere. If you were trying to comprehend the fact that he is timeless, imagine how much that would hurt your brain. Thinking about time travel as is hurts people's brains. Imagine trying to think about someone who is literally outside of time. So to some extent, that has... Yeah, exactly. To some extent, that has an aspect of it. Like H.P. Lovecraft, while he might not have... He was writing about horror, and he was also, by all intents and purposes, not a great person. That concept is ironically a very Christian understanding of how God works. Because in the Bible, that is literally stated multiple times, that you cannot behold the full majesty of God without literally dying. Because you cannot comprehend, your body can't handle it. It is like putting a plastic thing in a flame, if the flame literally instantly vaporized the plastic.
What do you guys think is like evil? Because we're describing God as like all the good things.
All good,
so
yes.
we'll just call it love and happiness and friendship. So
yeah.
then,
So
may
I?
Evil?
I think
So according to
yeah.
you, and again, somebody else can jump in if they need to, but I wanted to just, because I talked about God being good, I wanted to explain what evil was then. No, we're good?
Oh, yeah,
We're good with
so
that?
we're
Okay.
on the same track, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we're still on the same track. Anybody can jump in at any time if they want to. So as an extension of that, there's a common misconception that Satan is the opposite, like Satan is inherently the evil of the world. The interesting thing being, Satan is evil. Don't get me wrong. According to Christian belief, Satan is evil, but Satan is not the exemplification of sin the way that God is the exemplification of good. Sin is literally just anything God is not. Like, for example, God cannot be unjust. He is justice. So anything unjust is sin. God is love. So anything not love, anything hate, is sin. God is perfect curiosity. So anything that's just stagnant, that wants to ignore the world, is to some... I mean, obviously, that's a gray area. It's kind of hard to describe. I don't want to say that if you're not curious, you're sin. But you know what I'm getting at. Like anything that God is he is the exemplification of good. So anything that does not follow that, anything that is not God is sin. So hell is not so much a place, not so much a pit somewhere where there's a bunch of fire. It is anything that is not God. It is not necessarily fire as much as it is simultaneously fire and cold. Anything that is not a pleasant, happy temperature that we're used to, that is what hell would be like. That's why in Dante's Inferno, part of the reason why he talks about hell having the layers of both hot and cold, because both of those things exemplify sin. It is the things that the things that would hurt us, the things that are bad by definition. And it is also concepts like betrayal. That is a terrible thing to go through. That is sin. The reason why the 7 deadly sins exist is because things like lust, things like being prideful in the way that it hurts people, is what, if basically any action that could cause... Go ahead, sorry.
I would like to jump in here regarding the 7 deadly sins.
Right.
Now, so y'all can disagree with me if y'all want to, but in my opinion, every human is born with the 7 deadly sins as an instinctual part of them.
Instinctual?
Yeah, that is...
No.
I disagree.
No.
Greed totally is.
So that is...
Greed and lust.
You and I are probably going to disagree on this, but that is part of what the Bible describes as sin nature to me. Your body, your corporeal form, is by definition imperfect because you are not the same as God, who is, by all intents and purposes, something like just a free-floating soul, an infinite one, an omnipresent one. But your corporeal form, your body, inherently has these limitations. And those limitations are most easily understood in the concept of the 7 deadly sins. Obviously, not every sin falls into one of the 7 deadly sins. But the reason why the 7 deadly sins is a concept is the best way to understand most sins fall into these categories. Pride. You are so caught up in what you like and how good you are that you are hurting other people because you're not helping other people. Pride is bad in the extension of when you're not putting others first, when you're not helping people. They're obviously taking care of yourself is important. The Bible talks about your body is a temple. Make sure that it's good. But at the same time, if you are putting yourself forward to such an extent that others are getting hurt, that's a bad thing. Lust. If you are so lusting after people and so for like, I want to fuck this person, like that, this is all I care about, that you're hurting people that like actually want to care about you and yourself, because jumping into relationships all the time will hurt you. Your body is not made for that. Your brain is not you're meant to make connections with people. That is a bad thing, because like adultery, like sleeping with somebody when you're married, that kind of thing. It's a pretty basic concept that that's bad, that most people don't appreciate that. And even if you say that that's totally fine with you, I think that deep down that does actually hurt people, because humans are made to have intimate connections with each other. And if you betray those intimate connections, it hurts people. Greed is another one. You're putting yourself forward so much and putting everyone else behind you. Like, I gotta have all this stuff. All of it's mine. I don't care what anyone else has. It's all me. I'm hoarding this all stuff that I may not even necessarily need, and nobody else gets anything. That's a bad thing. It is not a bad thing.
Exactly. So
okay, yeah, go ahead.
to continue what I was saying about it being instinctual, is you can look at the stages of development.
The thing that I was immediately turned down on.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. I'm sorry.
So, kind of this isn't even controversial. So I used to think the exact same way. I used to. I essentially thought the worst of people by default. I was like, okay, we are just sinful creatures, right? Making it all happen, making it all work in our own best interest in the most sinful fucking way possible. Literally the most corrupt bullshit, like absolutely like demonic, not all godly, not at all holy, the opposite of what God intended for us. And there's a fallacy within that, okay? Something that, you remember, I mean, name drop, but whatever.
Yeah, we can bleep it. We can bleep it.
I don't know who you're talking about at all.
What?
I have zero.
From worship team. Okay.
Oh, I know who. Okay, dude. We don't need. Okay, you could have either DM'd me this stuff, because now I have to bleep out like everything you just said, because that is really
I'm just saying,
bad.
Okay, but I had to clarify because I was like, okay, whatever.
Yes, I know who you're talking about now.
He told me this, and it changed my fucking life. I'm gonna say that with like utmost confidence. It changed my life because.
Right.
I used to think the worst of people. Like I said, I had the exact same mindset. Like, oh, we are built and bred and like optimized for corruption and the 7 deadly sins. No, it's just not true. I'm gonna explain like briefly, but also like sort of in detail why that's not true. So take into account before the curse, before like the apple and all that good stuff, bad stuff, right? God built us to have a relationship with Him and with each other, right? Other simple beings created in God's image, right? Humans, other of God's sacred sapient, like we discussed earlier, creations. Okay.
Yes.
God created us for good, to worship Him and to like take care of His creation,
yes, absolutely.
His earth, a home that He made for us. We were not built for sin. We were meant to walk along and with and have a sacred, holy, perfect, like matrimony relationship with God and with like the other quote unquote children of God that He created, right?
Tough. And those things are
no.
exclusive.
I'm not done, dude.
Okay.
I literally haven't even gotten to the curse of sin yet. That's literally like what your whole diatribe was about, and I haven't even gotten there yet. So, like the serpent, temptation. Adam and Eve both partake in the knowledge of good and evil, right? So they understand what God's definition of good and evil is now. That's literally the whole. That's why it's called the tree of good and evil, or the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? That's the whole shtick behind that, right? That didn't rewrite our holy, I don't want to say holy DNA, but God's little schematic, God's blueprint for mankind. It didn't completely upend and rewrite and reprogram us on a fundamental level. We are still meant for, built for, and like intended for good by God's hands, right? But we are now capable and aware of misdeeds, evil, in a word, sin. We have that capability now. We are not built for sin. We are not built to be imperfect. We are built.
I see where you're coming from. Okay, so you are fundamentally misunderstanding my argument. What I'm not saying is that
you're not attacking the tree at the root. You're saying like
no. Okay,
we're so fucked up.
Okay,
and I'm like,
can I explain where I'm coming from? May I explain what I'm coming from? Okay, so that I do not disagree with you on, but I don't think what I said and what you said are mutually exclusive. So the concept of humans being sinful and the concept of us being created for good they can be one of the same, because it has to do with the concept of our flesh, our earthly body, and our soul. Yes. When God created us as to be perfect beings, when God created us to be perfect beings, our soul, the aspect of us that he created in his image, that is what he is he is related to our soul. So that concept is created for good. He wants us to be like him, so that is created in his image, so it does good. But our bodies, which have been afflicted by the curse of sin, our physical form, which is not necessarily like that is a result of sin. That is what is created. That is what is evil. It is our lineage of the curse of sin. When our bodies naturally want the 7 deadly sins, but our soul wants to be after God's image. So it is a dichotomy. That is why most humans are not inherently bad all the time, but most humans are also not good all the time. It is because our souls.
You're describing the desires of the flesh and the desires of the souls as if they're at ends.
Exactly.
They are, but one is vastly superior to the other, right? So as like children of God, created in his image, right? Created for good deeds and all that good stuff, right? All the fluffy stuff that I just mentioned about being able to walk with God and have a holy relationship, right? Like sanctification of sins, redemption, all that good stuff, right? But having fleshly, earthly desires, the desires of the flesh, literally, like word for word, that's what it's called in the Bible. Think about it this way. You, as a human being, self-aware, knowledgeable, and like having been afflicted by the curse of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, you know when you're about to fuck up, when you're about to cause problems, when you either feel lust, like you said, when you feel greed, when you feel lust, when you feel pride, etc. You know when you're fucked up, because someone or something either inside of you or a close friend who knows you well enough is going to or the Holy Spirit itself may very well cry out to you and be like, you're actually fucked up, dude. You're gonna know.
That is what you would describe a conscience as. Yes, exactly. I agree.
Okay, so this, like the sapience that you feel, the little internal compunction, the little guilt, the actual guilt of the spirit that you feel when you're going to sin, when you feel temptation, all that happy stuff, right? And just take into account, that doesn't mean we're built for sin. That doesn't mean we can't resist that kind of temptation.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean there's a part of who we are.
Hold on. That does not necessarily. Okay, so I will then. I just real quick. I'm only gonna say one quick thing, and then you can totally take this, Shadow. You can take this. I want to debut what he said real quick. I agree with that. But at the same time, the fact that no being is ever completely sinless means that they are at odds and there is a dichotomy. I agree that the vast majority, if not every single person, has that little nagging conscience in the back of their mind that is their soul or the Holy Spirit or whatever you want to call it, causing them to be, like, wanting them to be more like God and do better than what they did. That is actually true. But it is also an aspect that's sin nature, that the fact that you get tempted to do things bad in the first place, the fact that you have those intrusive thoughts in the first place, is the concept of our sin and the curse of sin. Those two are both happening at the same time, but they are both equally true. The fact that nobody has ever lived without sin is the fact that we are not perfect and we can't ever be perfect. As much as our soul wants to be like God, if we have any sin, we are not like God. That is the whole point.
All right. Can I jump
anyways,
in here
that is go ahead, jump in, and then Shadow, you had your stuff.
All right. So I don't know if this is like just me being pessimistic or whatever.
Okay.
But I think it's reasonable to say most people are literally too stupid to redeem themselves. Like,
they
literally don't understand the gravity of
a different topic. That's a whole new can of sardines that, like, we can talk about, but I do not want to completely derail what Shadow was going to talk about.
Yeah, we can talk about that way later.
Someone write that down. Write that down, and we will come back to that.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, okay.
But it's still fish, Taff.
No, but we kept derailing Shadow. Let's let Shadow finish.
That's true.
Okay. So, like I was saying, I believe that it is instinctual because of the way, if you look at the development of a human being from child to adult,
right,
the seven deadly sins are always present. So, for example, as a child, you are greedy, you are prideful, you are greed, pride, wrath, and sloth are the main ones when you are a child,
Lust.
from toddler to Satan.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
To
when
Satan.
hormones
Envy.
kick in, it is lust,
Envy.
pride, wrath, and envy.
Mhm.
Those are the four big ones there. And then as you continue to grow older and older, so on and so forth, those are still present, but you know better by that point, so you're able to fight against them better.
Right. So
And but they are still an instinctual part of you you need those seven deadly sins to, like, say back in the past, you needed to be greedy, you needed to be prideful, you needed to have those to be able to grow up enough to be able to let go of them.
Right. Okay.
They
got
are
you.
instinctual
I got you.
because they incite survival of humans.
Right. So can I then talk about that? That is 100% what I am saying, and this is going to be brief, I promise. That is what I'm saying about sin nature. The fact that the world breeds the concept of you need to be prideful to survive, you need to be greedy to survive. Before sin was a thing, according to what we've heard about the Garden of Eden and according to the concept of perfection, there was at one point an existence that didn't rely on greed. I'm
not saying that's not true. I'm saying that nowadays you need to have some aspect of the seven deadly sins to be able to survive.
That is part of why it is a curse of sin, because the world is now imperfect because of sin, which means that it is a terrible, intricate cycle of you have to have the seven deadly sins to survive, because the seven deadly sins corrupted the world to make it so that only sin survives in a sin world. That is why
you figured out what I was gonna try and mention, Matt.
Exactly.
I was like,
exactly.
He's missing it. He's totally fumbling the bag. He's completely missing the fact that.
So I just wanted to loop around to that. I just wanted to loop around to that.
God created, Garden of Eden, right? God created us, His beloved children, right, to just be Adam and Eve, right? Procreation wasn't a thing, right? It wasn't until after the curse, after they partake of the fruit from the tree of knowledge of evil, where God was like, "You're gonna bear children, and that shit's gonna fucking hurt like a bitch," right?
Exactly.
So
it was more than
in the Bible,
suffering, the struggle to survive was not a thing until sin was introduced.
Yeah,
you're not attacking the issue at the root. Like, you're pulling the weed at the fucking leaves. You're not pulling the weed at the root.
There is a reason why when Adam and Eve sinned, it did not say Adam and Eve became sin. It said the world had sin introduced into it. There is a reason why the Garden of Eden was described like the lion and the lamb lying next to each other. There was no need for fighting. There was no need for greed. Everything was abundant. Everyone had enough to eat. Nobody was ever scared. Nobody was ever hurt. But then, when sin was introduced because of humans, the world became fundamentally different. Humans greeded after things, and that caused the world to be greedy. There were the initial sin of pride, where they thought they were better than God, caused everything, all of the world, to then have sin. It was more than just we have sin. It is the world that has sin. And the reason why sin is something that we can never get around is because we can never go back to living in a perfect world that is, by definition, not have sin until heaven happens. Because we are living in an imperfect existence. It is more than just we are imperfect. Everything is imperfect now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the main thing of what I was trying to get here is, because of this, sin is a necessary evil in this case. You need it to literally survive in most cases here.
Okay.
That is my point of view on the seven deadly sins. Okay. They are not good. They are not your friend. But at some point in your life, you need them to be able to survive, develop, and grow as a person, so you can recognize, hey, these are not good things to have.
Okay, I get where you're coming from. That is an interesting way of looking at it. Like I said, I think it's I think that this is really just a chicken and the egg situation where we're trying to equate like, well, now that sin exists, now that we
It's
have
less
to
of
do
a
sin,
chicken
but
and
sin
egg.
exists.
It's less of a
That's
chicken
y'all,
and egg.
man. I was just trying to explain
It's
my point of
closer to
view on
nature
the
and
fucking
nurture,
sin.
Matt.
Nature
In
and
my
yeah,
opinion,
it's
closer to nature and
basically
nurture.
it's both. I have always
Yeah.
said that nature and nurture is like there is an aspect of nature, but there is also an aspect of nurture. Like because sin exists, you have to have sin, but because you have to have sin, sin exists. Like it is a deadly cycle. That is part of the reason why in Christianity the core belief is we're trying to do better, we're trying to improve ourselves. We're never going to be perfect. We don't need to be, because the whole point is Jesus exists and sacrificed himself for us to pay for our sins, and the eventual end goal is when everybody is ready, when it's the proper time, we're not going to be on earth anymore. We're going to be on a new heavens and a new earth, a perfect existence where when we are born, we don't need to be a part of sin. We are perfect, but the world is perfect too. So sin doesn't have a place to exist. There is no nature, but there's also no nurture of sin. It is more than
Hallelujah!
exactly. That is the big point. A lot of people are like, oh, everyone is trying to be perfect, but you can't be perfect because of like, oh, what if you grow up in a broken home? There is no broken home in a perfect world. That is the point. Is there going to be a perfect world and perfect people?
I think you're harnessing a little more of your, blonde hair and blue eyes than your love and sanctification.
Oh my God, no, please! I don't even have blonde hair.
Your exact wording, I was like, wait.
Okay. To be clear, I don't have blonde hairs anymore, so we're good.
Okay,
I have red hair. We're fine. We avoided it.
it's like strawberry blonde.
Your King Matt is evolving.
Yes, I am now immune to all jokes about me being racist. No. But
Objection, Your Honor.
jokes aside, that Shadow, you actually, and that's I really like talking with you because you have a tendency to do this. That touches perfectly on exactly my point. Sin is more than just people. Sin is a curse on the entirety of our existence. It is both our nature and our nurture.
Plague upon ye.
So yes, we want to not be a part of sin, but you also can't despair when you have sin involved in your life because everybody does. We can't be perfect this side of heaven, but eventually we will be perfect. So we're trying to do better because we are compelled to do better, but we don't have to be afraid of messing up because we're going to mess up. Doesn't mean that we should be discouraged from keeping and trying, but we don't have to be afraid of doing bad. Like nobody's ever going to be perfect, but eventually we will be. We will be. Okay. Anyways, moving on. I think Leg, did you have something else you wanted to add to that?
Had an objection as well. But Leg can
As well, yeah. Oh. Storm.
God damn it, y'all.
Dude, that was like 3 times in a row there.
Damn. Fuck.
We got some
Why
editing
don't
to
you
do for
talk?
this one.
I
No.
forgot what I was
Fucking
going
Leg
to say.
said it too.
Yeah. There's definitely
I think I'm
gonna
the
be
only
some-
one that hasn't.
There's
at this
definitely
point.
going to be some editing things. So yeah, anyways.
Okay,
So
Dog,
we are...
I think that we should just let
We're
the
getting better.
conversation
We're past
be-
the hour mark and we're getting better. Okay?
We are.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, Storm, keep on going.
I forgot. I fucking forgot
What?
because
You didn't write it down.
Didn't you write it down?
You wrote
Yeah.
it down, though.
You're not writing down
Oh,
your
that.
notes?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. I didn't. Okay. Yeah. So.
yeah. If you guys have a thought and you don't want to just immediately jump in, write it down so we can touch on it later.
All right,
I
I've
have
got
a
couple
Windows
thoughts.
notepad open
Yeah.
every time we record because I know
Yeah,
my
I
dumbass
should-
is like,
I
I want
really
to talk
should do
about
that
this,
as
and then
well.
I forget it, and if I don't write it down, it's gone forever.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
I'm definitely going to do that right
If you
this
don't have the thing,
Sorry, I
If
had,
you
I
don't
had
have
a
a
different
phone,
one
myself.
that I forgot, but I don't really care about, so it's fine. So the main one.
Okay.
Bless you. Anyway, okay. So, yeah, I think that most people are literally too stupid to redeem themselves. And what I mean by that,
Oh, yes.
That's the point. Right.
I love where I'm gonna go with this.
Okay,
I hope,
finish your
I hope
point.
you know where this is going.
Finish your point. Yes, I have a feeling I know where you're going with this, but we'll let him finish
Yup.
his point.
like, I
Storm,
think
was that
that
the rest of your indication?
what do you mean by that?
Of the
Just
topic,
finish
like
your
the topic,
thought.
like,
Finish your
everyone's
thought.
too
What you
stupid
mean
to
by
redeem
that?
Yeah.
What you mean by that?
I mean, I can elaborate
ahead.
slightly, and then I'll go ahead
Yes,
and
go.
let the let the dogs loose, as it were. Anyway, so,
Let loose the hounds of war.
And then we talk for another 40 minutes back and forth again.
You motherfucker! No,
we were going back and forth on each other just now. So let's be clear about that.
okay,
True.
so
True.
I just think that a lot of people, just kind of, I mean, I'm not saying that everybody who isn't aware of,
Right.
like, God and existence of religion and all should be, like, punished for that. I'm just saying that people who are, and, I just think that at a certain point, like, your actions matter more than how you perceive them. Like,
Could
you
you,
can
could
fucking,
you
like,
expand upon that? I didn't quite follow
Yes,
that.
expound
last
upon
bit.
that. Yes, I'm confused as well.
I'm saying that, like, you can literally go your whole life being, like, a fucking idiot, basically, and just,
Okay.
just constantly making just everything miserable for everybody around you, and
Right.
not being aware of it, and that doesn't save you. Like, you're so fucked up, and you still might be like, oh, why is this happening to me?
Okay. That
And
is
it's like,
that
well-
is the aspect of Christianity. I know you're
Matt,
probably going
please,
to lead into this.
Please let me pick this up.
Go
I beg
go
you.
ahead. He's probably better at explaining this than I am. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Taff.
go
I
ahead,
won't say I
fucking-
am, but I hope that I.
You've
can
had more
get this to, like-
practice. You and I have both done stuff. You've had more practice.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Go
Okay,
ahead,
So
take it over.
I'm not gonna hit bullet points, but I'm probably gonna hit bullet points. I'm not even kidding. Okay. So here's where we're starting out. You're saying people who either intentionally or unintentionally, right, in their stupidity, in their ignorance, right, their
Right.
lack of knowledge, right, they make mistakes, they sin. They're actively a proponent of the curse, right? And they make life harder. They introduce sin into other people's lives, and they cause problems, right? They perpetuate the curse, and they make God seem further and further away for people who are around them and immediately in their lives, right? That's
Right.
kind of what I was getting from your example. Okay, that's like 1-to-1 basically.
Yeah, and, like, sometimes they don't even, like, they're literally, like, I'm not saying it's
Blissfully
not their fault,
unaware
I'm
is what
saying-
you're going for. Blissfully unaware.
Yeah, blissfully unaware.
Okay, all right, cool.
naive.
So here's the thing. So, the long and short of it is, it doesn't fucking matter. And I say that with absolute sincerity. And what I mean by absolute sincerity is, it doesn't matter what absolutely atrocious actions you've committed, either of your own knowledge or absent of your own knowledge, right? So when you go out of your way with your free will to rob a bank, lie to your own mother, right? Or lie to anyone for that matter, or bomb the Twin Towers, or literally commit egregious acts
my
against
God.
mankind.
I didn't.
It's 9/11.
Hold on.
It's
I might have
9/11.
to
I
take.
could say that.
I might have to take
no,
back
it's right now
over.
for me.
No,
I'm in the
hey,
next time zone.
no. In Europe,
I'm-
Europe it's 9/10. In Europe, it's
Oh,
9/10.
shit.
You're going to hell. I'm sorry. That's it. No.
Oh. You know what, Taff?
God.
I gave you
Anyway.
free reign. I gave you free reign, and I'm regretting
My
it.
point. Prove my point.
This is
Thank
how
you.
you repay me.
Your regret
Thank you
run
for
through
proving
everyone
my point.
right now.
Okay.
Oh.
So here's where I'm going with this.
Interesting.
Take that with a grain of salt. Doesn't matter what absolutely
I
heinous
will.
acts you've perpetrated, right? Either of your own knowledge or in your ignorance, right? Your literal, actual, like, blissfully unaware stupidity, right? Like you said, they're too stupid to be saved.
Swag.
Jesus, as the Son of God, both God, fully God and fully man, as the ultimate sacrifice, right?
May I
Like,
explain the
when he was-
concept
when
of
he was-
sacrifice a bit? May I do that real quick?
Like right now, yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay. Just before you go on. So, the concept of sacrifice may not be a thing that a lot of people understand inherently. So I'm going to touch on that a bit. Especially in the Jewish faith and in a lot of other faiths, there is the concept of if you mess up, you have to do something as penance, right? So, like, if you mess up, you're trying to make it up to people. That's the concept of just basic justice. But the problem is, like we have said multiple times, we are all inherently sinful. Even as a child, before we realize what we're doing, or even inadvertently in our adult life, we do that a lot. So it is hard to, if we're trying to pay it back and do like a sacrifice for everything that we do. Say you do something you don't even realize, and obviously you're not going to do a sacrifice on that. So the problem with that is that you would then need a perfect sacrifice, one that has no flaws, one that is an infinite sacrifice to account for the things that that some people would argue we can't be blamed for, to like inherent things, like sinful things, because we all sin. So that is the concept of a perfect sacrifice, which is
that why
why
there's a virgin
Jesus was the
sacrifice?
perfect sacrifice.
Leg, what was that?
Is that why there's a virgin sacrifice in a lot of religions?
Yes,
Yes.
that is the concept of atoning for
Whoa.
things. Jesus was the ultimate version of that, which we'll talk about. I just wanted to establish that background so that we could get into that.
Yes, Matt. We'll talk about that. Thank you.
God, I'm so.
Just repeat what you
I didn't even have to do
Just
that.
repeat
I
what
didn't
you
even have to
said.
do that one.
I'm usually so good about
going.
it too. We're just involved in this. We're just involved in this conversation so much.
You got
that
so
we've
invested.
messed
It
up.
got so personal.
Repeat the
No.
last line, correct it, keep going.
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
we'll
as I
edit
was
all
intended.
these things out. We're just for
Right,
context for
for
anyone
sure.
listening to this, because we're kind of doing this more like a conversation than usual. For context, we keep messing up on the names thing. Anybody who's listening to this, and we appreciate you listening so
Pseudonyms.
far. So there's gonna be some silences where we
Blanks.
all mess up a good bunch.
Either
But
we're gonna
anyways.
do a really funny voiceover where, like, so say for I for example
a
say Storm's real name,
text-to-speech.
is be like,
Taff.
hey, didn't. Yeah, no, like, hey, didn't Storm have something to say earlier?
I would love that.
I wish that I knew
What would
enough
you do?
about editing to do that. I'll definitely try.
I can do that. There's a
Okay.
voiceover function in Audacity. You can do that.
Okay, yeah. Anyways,
As I was saying, like he said, a perfect sacrifice, a pure sacrifice, either a virgin or a pure sacrifice, however you want to describe it, whatever language you're working off of, right? The ultimate sacrifice, Jesus, who had never sinned, who had never had any kind of impure thoughts, actions, or intentions, right? And he followed the letter of the law, like the law that the Sanhedrin were so eager to uphold, despite being in the presence of the literal, actual, physical manifestation of fully God and fully man. They really weren't a big fan of Jesus, because they were like, damn, that Jesus kid sure is perfect. That's he's got to go. He's literally upending everything we've been trying to build for the last upwards of 1,200 years, right? Give or take, right? That's conjecture on my part. Like, it wasn't exactly
Well,
1,200 years.
Wouldn't you? If some fucker came along with his frat boys
it,
and was just like,
it
"Oh,
would
yeah,
definitely be hard to
Follow
accept.
me,
It would
bro."
definitely be hard
Oh,
to accept.
yeah. The
God.
legacy
If
of your
God
entire
pulled
system
up,
of
it would be
belief-
hard to accept him. Yeah.
Right, for
Dude,
sure.
he and his posse
And-
felt
but-
like a frat.
The same guys that were
The
trying to
entire time.
the same guys that were trying to persecute and absolutely obliterate Jesus Christ, the man himself, were also the ones that were like, "Hey guys, the Messiah is coming. He's coming. It's not this guy, the guy who fulfilled every single prophecy from the entirety of, what's about to be the Old Testament. It's not the Old Testament yet, because we're still just gonna call it,
The Torah.
the Torah. We're just gonna call it the Torah. We're still gonna call it the Torah because we don't believe in the New Testament, which hasn't been written yet, because we're literally in the New
Kind of hard
Testament
to
as we
listen
speak.
to it.
Exactly. There's no audiobooks yet. I don't have my Audible account set up. Regardless, keep in mind,
Especially
the
for
Sanhedrin was literally shitting their pants every time Jesus was in a room, because they were like, like some teeth chattering Scooby-Doo shit, right? Literally, they were like, shit, fuck! And they were like, oh my god, the guy's here. He's like, guys, I've got it. We're gonna set up like a prostitute, a bottle of wine, like a guy who's been convicted, a guy who's about to be hanged, crucified, whatever. And Jesus is totally gonna lose his shit. And Jesus, with like literal, actual, like flawless anime protagonist precision, would slide straight through whatever goofy like Rube Goldberg contraption of a like Catch-22 they tried to get him in to try and convict Jesus of like, oh, blasphemer.
It's a Tom and Jerry skit.
Literally, they were
Kind of,
pulling
yeah.
Tom and Jerry type
So-
skits. They were like bait and switch, like Wile E. Coyote stuff. Where they're like, I'm gonna set up this fake wall, and Jesus is like,
I would. pay
May,
money
may
for
I
they were
talk
like, no,
about
literally, because Jesus.
May I talk about the Roman aspect of it as well, real quick?
When I finish clarifying why Storm's conjecture on people being too stupid to be saved, please.
No, it's just gonna be real quick. It's just gonna be part of the stuff that they tried to get him with. I'm just gonna give an example.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
get it, yeah.
So one of the most
Explicit
interesting things is at the time the Roman government was under control, right? And obviously the Roman government wouldn't like it if this Messiah started saying that he was going to overthrow Roman control. So one of the things that they tried to get Jesus with was trying to make it seem like he was a dangerous revolutionary, because obviously the Roman government would get rid of him if he seemed like he was a dangerous revolutionary. So one of the
Gandhi
things that
type
they
shit.
tried to do was say like, hey, if you're the ultimate like god of everything, then like why should we have to pay taxes to the Roman government because you're more important than them? And yeah, Jesus just replied with, hey, what's there on that coin right there? And they said, it's a picture of Caesar. And he said, yeah, so it belongs to Caesar. Give it to Caesar. So
Wow.
I mean,
Hell yeah.
yeah. So that was one of the. That's
just like-
basically what he would do.
Did
like,
everyone follow that? Like,
wait.
like word for
Straight
word,
up
did everyone like
defeated
follow
with
that?
facts and science and Logic.
Shut up, Storm.
What were you saying, Shadow? What were you saying, Shadow?
Facts and logic.
What were you saying?
I mean, by that logic, all the American bills belong
Well,
to the
it
people.
was the
whose
concept-
faces are
Abraham
on
was
them.
the
Lincoln himself.
concept-
Guys, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
give George Washington a couple fat 20s right now.
Well,
Not
it was the
20s,
concept
just a
of
couple
taxes.
Open up his
If
casket,
the
just
money
slam
does
all
not
my
have
money on
inherent value, but the concept of taxes is like, okay, this is money doesn't really exist if you don't care about
Oh,
it.
$20
Give them their money if they ask for money. One of the things that Jesus
Yeah.
preached was like, hey, don't worry about money because I got you covered. So don't avoid paying taxes because why would you aggravate people on purpose?
But Jesus, tax evasion is base.
You got me there. No, anyways,
my
continue.
child.
Continue. Chad, what you're saying.
You're right.
I just wanted to give a good example of how good he was getting out of their tricks because he knew they were trying to trick him the whole time. He got out of their tricks really smooth.
Yes,
Okay,
that's what you wanted to
which-
like elaborate upon.
Yes,
Just
that's what
basically
I was
a
just
little,
trying to say.
like break it down sexual
Which guy
style.
smooched Jesus at the betrayal?
What's up?
Huh? Oh,
Which guy
Judas.
smooched
Judas.
Jesus?
Judas.
No, no,
We'll
no.
talk about
Judas?
Judas later.
Yes.
We'll talk about Judas later.
Like
That's
in
a whole
several
different.
paintings,
Judas?
it looked intimate as fuck. Do you think those two are gay?
No, kissing people for like a personal greeting is a very established thing. That's why Italian people kiss each
understand
other on the
there's
cheek
very
for a
intimate
greeting.
Glare.
Oh my god.
In a lot
Leg,
of
that is the
paintings,
most
there's
out of pocket
intimate
shit. No.
glares, bro.
In the last 2 hours, that is the most out of pocket shit Leg has said this entire time.
I don't know that I've
That's my
ever
whole
heard
brand.
somebody accuse Judas of being
I
gay
have.
for Jesus, but you know what? Maybe.
Now you have.
Hey, he
Okay,
was
I
already
have.
sitting. He was already sitting. Why not stack
Game
another one
theory,
on there? Anyways,
Alright,
continue,
okay,
Tab.
okay. So yes, like bringing it down to like square one, right? So just quick little like just to get back up to speed. Storm's objection, there we go, was, hey, what if people are like actually too retarded to be forgiven of their sins? And I'm explaining how, well, you see Jesus as the literal actual ultimate sacrifice of all time, literally the goat, right? Because he was perfect, he did not sin, and he fulfilled all 400 all 400 prophecies of the Messiah that were conscribed by the prophets that were spoken to by God. Crazy how Jesus is fully God and fully man and fulfilled all these prophecies that he said he was going to do. It's almost like he's making good on his promise because God never breaks a promise or a covenant, however you want to describe it. So Jesus being absolutely despised by almost every member of Judaism that, you know, doesn't have functioning brain cells and just absolutely like duck follows the Sanhedrin, right? They have a trial. So they've got Barabbas, who is a convicted criminal, literal, like, he's been on the chop, he's on death row, right?
Swag.
No, yeah, Pontius Pilate, he has a hearing, essentially. He has a public hearing. He's like, okay, here's the dealio. You've got Jesus, convicted of epic rap battles of history. Jesus versus Barabbas. Literally, like, Pontius Pilate is like, okay, Jesus, who's literally been convicted of nothing, but you guys just fucking hate him. I don't know, mob mentality, cancel culture, like 4,000 years before it was cool, right? Literally, he's like, this guy who has done absolutely no wrong, both in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of, well, God. Crazy how that works.
Himself,
and a convicted murderer. Who do you guys want to vindicate and justify? And they were like, give us Barabbas! throw his ass in the ringer! We don't want to ever see Jesus around here again! And he was like, you guys are out of your mind. Pontius Pilate goes to like a bowl of clean water, you know, clean for fucking 30 BC. He washes his hand. He's like, I literally wash my hands of this man's blood because it's on you guys. I do not have anything to do with this. And Jesus was like, that's some smart shit you just pulled just now. That's some real smart shit. And he's like, I know. I've been doing this. I've been a, you know, like, not a judge, but essentially what Pontius Pilate was a judge before judges were
If I'm not
cringe.
mistaken, I think Jesus said, like, I forgive you, because Pontius Pilate was
Yes.
really, like, he was distressed on this because he knew that Jesus was
Yes.
perfectly innocent, and Jesus was like,
Yep.
don't worry, man, I forgive you, you're good.
Hold on to that thought. Hold on to that exact thought and concept into, like forgiveness from Jesus himself, right?
Oh, you're talking
hold on
about
to that
the criminal, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
that and someone else. You're
yeah,
right on.
for sure.
You're right next to it. Literally right next to it because it all happened on Calvary. Anyway, they sentenced Jesus. They're like, that's it. You're getting flogged. You are getting tortured. We are going to humiliate you publicly, which was also another prophecy. And then we are going to crucify you. And guess what? Jesus gets crucified.
May I briefly describe the crucifixion
The
process
last
and how
briefly
bad
took
it was?
10 minutes. I timed
For
it.
context.
No.
Yes.
Who doesn't know what the crucifixion was?
So yeah,
Okay.
so crucifixion, super simple
Wait,
process.
Storm,
You
what's
get-
up? Storm, what's
Storm, what's
Matt,
up?
chill
Yeah,
out.
sorry.
Matt, chill out. Storm, what's up?
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, right? Okay, actually, you know what? I have a bigger elaboration. Go ahead. I mean, Matt! Fuck! Okay.
Well, this is gonna happen. This is gonna keep happening. Anyways, what's it called? So the crucifixion process was extremely common misconception. When they said that nails are through his hands, they don't mean palms. It was through the wrists. Romans considered the wrists to be part of palms. So you're getting nails through your wrists and you're getting nails through your feet. Those are major nerve centers in your body. So even that alone, putting nails through those, that sucks.
Wait. So if they put it through
Ooh.
their wrist, do you mean instead of feet they put the nails through his shins, or like
Pretty
actually
much.
through
Something like that. Basically, in an area that would hold weight. That was the idea, is that you wouldn't fall off the cross, you'd be held there.
So the shins.
Something like that.
Not necessarily the shin. Think about you know
Like
the
the
connection.
ankle, maybe?
So like if you look if you're your ankle, right on your ankle, there's an unholy, quite literally because you got crucified, an unholy amount of nerves, ligaments, bones, muscle. All it's a huge intersection. It's a huge thoroughfare, high traffic area of blood, muscles, nerve centers, all that good stuff. Basically, right at your ankle, where the shin essentially starts to meet with all the foot bones,
Yeah.
as it were.
Yeah.
Right. Basically, right in there. It wasn't a perfect science because they haven't really figured out dissection other than dismembering people.
So this
right?
is a rusty, basically, train spike.
You know the
through
Matt.
one
Matt,
of the
Matt,
most
Matt, Matt.
what?
I can give a really quick description. You guys know the band 9 Inch Nails?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
You know the box art that they have on all their albums?
Yes, sir.
Those are the
sir.
nails that they used on Jesus, the actual Jesus Christ. They're huge.
Oh, shit.
They're huge. They're dense. They're square. They are rusty. They are nasty. They are They're painful to look at, much less have
you
put
get,
through your
you get hit in
major
the
nerve
head with
systems.
some of those things,
And
you're
they're
dead.
9
Like,
inches
Shy got
long. Let's
pegged.
go.
But basically, yeah.
You even
so,
look at him.
so
you
the
get that shut.
so that being said, that alone is an incredibly fun fact. The word excruciating was literally the root word is crucifixion. They needed to make a new word up because it was so painful to be crucified. They made a new word up to go, oh yeah, that guy got crucified.
It's like going to the hospital and you're like, so what is it, doc? We don't know, but you get to name it.
Yeah, exactly. That was the equivalent of what they did to him. And they were like, the even worse process of this, so you are being hung up there, often for several days. First off, what happens to you is your arms and legs start to stretch out, and they come out of their socket. So even if you get back down from them, not only are you not using your feet or your hands ever again, you're not using your arms ever again. So even if you survive this process, you are in a wheelchair the rest of your existence.
Also,
Oh, so you're
also,
quadriplegic.
shut up, Leg.
This
I was gonna say the
right.
same thing. I was gonna make the same joke.
So
My
bad.
bad, bro.
Anyways, so
Your
all that
delivery was
being
much better.
said, all that being said, in addition to this, the thing you actually die for when you're being crucified is not blood loss or anything of the sort. It is suffocation. Because when you're hung like that, when you're hung outside of your own muscle strength, your body
Jesus was
eventually
hung?
loses. No, like
I'm
hung
hung
up
like
by
that.
their
I'm
hung
hung
up
like
by
that.
their
I'm
like
hung like
their
that. I'm-
yeah. Anyways, like for example, if you're holding onto a bar and like lifting yourself up, you're using your own muscle power, and you're going to run out of said muscle power and fall far before you run out of the ability to start breathing. However, if you are tied or nailed up that way, you'll run out of all muscle power and your body won't have the energy to lift your diaphragm and your lungs up the same way because you won't have something to brace yourself off of. So in order to breathe,
Unless you
would-
use the nails
yes,
in your feet.
exactly. In order to breathe, you would start to have to push off the nails in your feet, driving them further up your leg every time you wanted to breathe. You would get so painful and so exhausted, you would literally suffocate to death on the cross.
That just does not fly, dog.
Yeah, that is what it was. And the reason
left him hanging.
so the interesting thing is
They
a lot of
really left
people
him
think
hanging.
that the reason why the soldier stabbed Jesus is he just wanted to be the reason why the soldier stabbed Jesus is he just wanted to be like extra rude to him someday or something like he was having a bad day. Actually, although he wasn't being super nice at it, it was a mercy thing. Okay, stop your recording then.
Immediately?
We'll edit it in. Yeah, just go ahead and
Yeah.
stop your recording. Then you're good.
Bye, Storm.
Bye, Storm. You have a good one. Thank you for your input.
See you, man.
But yeah, so the reason why the
Damn, he
that one
did.
soldier that stabbed Jesus in the side stabbed him like that was actually a mercy thing. So crucifixion was such
Mercy kill.
a painful process that it was easier to die of blood loss than suffocation. So he stabbed Jesus to be like, here, man, you won't die as slow. Same thing with giving him the wine. It was a bitter thing to do, but they were keeping him hydrated so that he wouldn't be completely miserable while he was dying. They were mocking him while they did it, but in their own fucked up way, the soldiers were actually kind of taking care of Jesus. That's part of the reason why, like Taff was saying, he kind of forgave them. Anyways, continue with what you were saying about the actual like story of it, Taff.
Obviously, Storm's gone, so it's preaching to the convicted, or at least the or the indifferent, so to speak. I'm just gonna wrap it up so we can move on to the topic that Leg wanted to perpetuate, or sorry, not perpetuate, to propose. Basically, like we said, Jesus was crucified. Pretty gnarly, process, ordeal, right?
It's not
for
the
lack of a
word I
better
would
term.
use, but all right.
As he was crucified, they were like, "Hey, we're gonna stab, like, we're going to stab a hole in his side, so like the blood, like he bleeds out, right?" They're basically like, "All right, show's over, go home." Like it was kind of barbaric, but that's just how that was part of the process. And when Jesus physically died, like human body died, right? Dark clouds billowed over instantaneously.
No,
The sun
actually,
was blotted out.
The interesting thing is, according to historical records, it was actually a full solar eclipse that occurred.
What?
Yeah. Yep, that is
I
a
missed this?
real thing. That is a real thing. If you look at the historical records of that time, based on what we know about astronomy, it has been shown that likely at the exact moment Jesus died, there was a full solar eclipse. So the reason why the
Even
world
with the Julian
darkened,
calendar and stuff?
Yep. The reason
That
why
would've
the
fucked up
world
some
darkened
people, man.
when
Why?
Jesus and like it would have been terrifying. Imagine if the sun stopped shining in the middle of the day when this guy died.
Okay, so with that in mind, also, this is a super abstract segue, but think about the fact that how the sun and the moon are perfectly spaced so that the moon can blot out the sun, right?
Yeah.
In relation to the Earth, that just happened. No, there's no way
Especially
that
since
happened.
our moon is
I
so
digress.
much bigger than any other moon that any other planet has.
Yes.
Compared to the Earth, I mean.
That's a completely different topic, whole nother can of worms. Perfectly welcome to discuss that later, because I know an entire case study that I did write a paper on back in college. Anyway, like I said, so the sun was blocked out one way or another. Solar eclipse, thick load of clouds. Take your pick, right? Choose your poison, pick your pill, right?
The Egyptians know about that one.
Yeah. Well, that's the
for
thing
sure.
is that like
No,
even
so
beyond
take
the
into
fact
account-
that Jesus died, it was like that even a normal solar eclipse was an incredibly bad omen. So the fact that like, oh wow, this guy that claimed to be God died and then the sun got blotted out. Like, and it
So,
was
like I said-
it's not like Jesus could have planned that either, cuz the soldiers planned that. So there's no way that it could have been like anything but a coincidence or divine intervention. Like,
So with that in mind,
What if the soldiers were in cahoots?
Okay, like, bear with me. You say that one of these soldiers. This is conscribed in each book of the gospel, right? All 5 of them, right? 6 if you want to count some of the letters that got written. But I digress. One of the guards was like, in that moment, as the sun blot out and the giant ass curtain in the where the Ark of the Covenant was being held got ripped in half by an earthquake that like didn't break anything else. Literally just split the curtain in half and fucked off. Literally said like, all right, cool, my work here is done. Oh, like literally, that's the only thing that got ruined, right?
Fuck your
This
life.
this
Bing
soldier this soldier's staring at Jesus, dead, the Son of God, dead on a cross as the sun's being blotted out and there's a fat earthquake. He goes, "Oh my God, this man was the literal actual Son of God and the Messiah that the Jews had predicted." And in that moment, he was vindicated. He was forgiven and sanctified because he professed faith to Jesus.
and Jesus said,
Or
"Yeah,
profess
you're
faith.
good, my man. You didn't know
He
what
was
you
like-
were doing."
Jesus literally, not even 5-10 minutes after Jesus died, this guard's like,
How does
Oh, and Jesus is like, see,
how
he
does
gets
that
it.
prove that
Yeah.
he didn't know though?
So not only that,
How does that prove that he did not try to help him? Because you could try to help Jesus, but still not completely believe.
no, so
but still feel bad
it
for
says,
Hold
and
on.
again, we don't know for certain because we don't know this guy's heart, but in the Bible it does say that this guy believed that Jesus, like, it's not that he was helping him. When this earthquake and the sun blotting out happened, it says this guy believed, and he was like, oh crap. And then Jesus was like, yeah.
Well, you would too if the sky fucking darkened.
No, yeah, I'm sure. But at the same time, that there is a literal part of the Bible that talks about that, where it's like, you may believe because you see, greater are those who believe because they don't when they don't see.
Because they have not seen. Because they have not
Exactly.
seen.
It's literally like, yes,
Yeah,
there
I
are
watched the
people who
Santa
believe
Claus.
because they're proved and they believe it, but it is still like,
See,
if you
he's
believe based on
he's
faith,
not
that is far greater. There is another guy that was very similar. Can I talk about the other criminal, or did you want to? Taff.
There was fucking two?
What's up? What?
The criminal. Can I talk about him, or did you want to?
Oh, the ones on the left and right
Yes.
of Jesus on Calvary.
So
I mean,
so,
I'm looking at that passage right now, trying to
Okay,
find
yeah.
the guard who was
So
sanctified.
the
but
what's it called? So one of the most interesting things about this, Jesus was not crucified alone. Usually when you crucify someone in order to save the time and resources in the place, you usually do it in groups. So he was crucified with two other people. Two different criminals. I don't believe that it's super specific about what they did. They were probably something like mass murderers or something like that. Usually you didn't get crucified unless it was something pretty heinous. On the cross, the two people, one on the right, one on the left of Jesus, one of them was making fun of Jesus, saying, oh, if you're God, then how come you're stuck here with us? Ha ha, you're no better than any petty criminal. The one on the other side of him was like, I'm sorry for what he's saying. I believe that you are genuinely the Son of God. I know what you're doing here. Please forgive me. I know that I've lived a terrible life. Please, I want to see you when I die. And Jesus was like, Jesus didn't like whisk him off of the cross. Jesus knew that he had to accept the justice. But at the same time, he turned to that guy and said, like, all right, I forgive you. Thank you for like realizing and humbling yourself. And it is said that he would sit at the right hand of Jesus when he died. So that guy is confirmed to have gone to heaven with Jesus. In that Bible verse, the guy that like, again, this is a terrible person, and that has to do with like, a lot of people will make the excuse that like, oh well, if Jesus pays for everything, then why can't we just do whatever we want? And it's like, well, part of the whole point of being like repentant, the Bible doesn't just say you're sorry. The Bible says be repentant. Part of being repentant is willing to accept the consequences of your actions. This guy didn't say, please Jesus, take me off of this
willing to accept the consequences
cross.
of your actions and not making the same
Exactly.
mistakes again.
So this guy wasn't saying, please Jesus, get me off of this cross. This guy was saying, I know I'm going to die here, and that is what needs to happen, but when I die, I want to go to heaven with you. I am truly regretful of what I did. So this was a bad person, but he accepted his consequences and said that he became repentant, truly repentant, and he went to heaven because of it. That is a good example of, like, for example, people say, oh, what if Hitler was a Christian? Would he go to heaven? It's like, well, was he repentant? Because I'm pretty sure he wasn't.
For sure not.
So, like, that's the thing. To be repentant, you have to be accepting of consequences. You can't repent and then also run away from the cops when you've broken the law. Like, that's not how it works.
Well, yeah, he did kill himself.
He
did kill himself.
I mean, that is plain and simple how it works. So that is a very telling aspect of it. But anyways, finish what you were saying, Taff. I thought that was a very relevant point for that.
What are you calling back to? Like following the conviction of the criminal and the centurion?
Yes, that's what I just
Okay,
said.
okay.
The criminal
Yeah,
that was with him.
Following that, the story's pretty cut and dry, and I'm pretty sure almost every human being with functional ears has heard it at least once in their entire life.
Maybe not everybody, but yeah.
Jesus, after being crucified, died on the cross instead of breaking his legs, right, dismembering him. They pierced his side. He bled blood and water, and those who bore witness were like, "Oh my God, this guy was."
Oh,
the
I'm
son,
sorry.
This was the
That's
son
a
of God.
good point.
This guy's the Messiah.
I'm sorry. The breaking the legs thing. I didn't even talk about that. Sorry.
No, it was yeah.
Just real quick, breaking legs was a common thing because also if your legs were broken, you couldn't breathe, so it would make you suffocate faster. That was another thing they did to make you die faster. But stabbing you was even more. It was better than that. Breaking your legs would be even more painful. So the stabbing thing was the basically the kindest option, other than like stabbing you in the heart or something.
Right, because he was already dead. Anyway, Jesus has died. Jesus is buried in the tomb of. Oh, my brain's shutting down. Come on. Matt, help me out.
Oh, that's a good question. I am so sorry.
Joseph of Arimathea. Joseph
Joseph
of Arimathea.
Another Joseph, not his dad, but another Joseph.
Right.
Tomb that he gave him.
He's buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, which was also a prophecy that was foretold regarding the Messiah and the death and the resurrection, all that good stuff. And 3 days later, lo and behold, Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb to visit Jesus, and the stone, this giant
Storm, if you want to
big ass stone.
If you want to rejoin, we got to do another clap sync. Yeah, if you want to rejoin, I don't know how much longer we're going to go for, but if you want to, sorry, for anyone who's not
20-30 minutes
live, I don't know how much longer. Storm is back. I
have
don't
to
know
go in 5.
Okay, yeah, we need to
That's fine.
wrap
That's
up.
fine.
So Storm, why don't you just
Gotta
keep it
Talking
where it
Kids
is, and then
concert.
we can just wrap up real quick. Yeah, because doing another clap sync's wouldn't make much sense because Leg's got to get out of here pretty soon. So, sorry, Storm.
He
Well, I
lost
have like
his
a
leg.
very quick topic.
Anyways,
If you guys want to just do that.
okay, yeah, go ahead, Leg. Say your last thing because we've been.
dominating.
Yeah, sorry.
So you guys know about-
we were just telling the general story.
You guys know about like the holy mushroom thing, right?
What are you specifically
Huh?
referring to?
Is this like a Ligma joke?
Like, no, seriously,
Okay.
seriously. Like, I keep hearing. I'm not
We don't need it
100%
unless
sure
we have a
about this
guest.
because I haven't done really much research, but that when Christianity started, most of the scriptures and things that were written down were because they were eating a specific type of mushroom.
That is a
And we're
theory that has
having-
not been proven.
That's why I'm saying I'm not sure if it's true or not.
Yeah, that has
But do you
very
think-
definitively not been proven because that is basically just a hypothetical because a lot of people to provide context to that.
That's what I'm saying.
There is a theory out there that a lot of people from that area, the reason why there were prophets and stuff is because there was a psychedelic mushroom they were consuming. I don't believe that there's any validity to that. Again, there's no proof that actually ever happened. It's just like what if that happened? That'd be pretty wacky, huh, guys?
Do you think that
Marvel's What
that's
If.
what the wafer originally was?
No, the wafer was a flat bread that they consumed for Passover. It was very. There are still historical examples of that happening. The wafer was definitively not made of. If it was, they probably
And
would have
how
noticed.
it was made?
No, the wafer was made out of exclusively like it was. Basically, the way that Passover food is made is that it's basically just flour and then you fry it.
It's
It
unleavened
is
bread, if that means
unleavened
anything
bread,
to
yes.
you.
It doesn't have
Oh, no,
yeast.
I
They
know.
don't prepare it very. It is meant to be prepared really quickly because the origin of it was during Exodus when the Israelites were getting out of Egypt. They had to prepare food that was going to be super quick and ready, so they couldn't wait for bread to rise. So they didn't bother with yeast. That is what Passover food was. That is what
Matt, are
they
you
ate
serious?
at the.
Wait.
It's like hoe cakes.
You're serious?
Yeah, it's like hoe cakes.
Is that? Am I
It was-
wrong
I don't know
about
if
any
you
of
guys-
that? I'm sorry.
It was
No, you're
yes.
right.
It was supposed to be
Okay.
hastily prepared, but it's because
Right.
the angel of death was going to sweep through that night.
Are
They
you
didn't have
I'm
food
pretty
that
sure.
they-
No. The angel of death they
It's-
didn't leave for. The angel of death they stayed in their houses with the lamb's blood. You're
No,
incorrect.
they
about
stayed in their
that.
houses, but he was coming through that night. They were gonna like put the blood of the lamb over their doors and go to bed because that's what they were told to do,
Right.
right? By Moses. He was like when you go to bed.
Oh,
like,
you're right.
I'm
Because
using
Passover.
loose
I'm
terms.
sorry. You're right. You're right. You're
Exactly.
totally right about
And
that. Yeah.
It was hastily.
because they wanted to
perishable
eat before
food
they fell asleep.
Because
right.
they wanted to eat before they potentially died, right?
Because they were supposed to be
And
asleep when the angel of death happened.
wasn't-
Right. Sorry.
It wasn't food that you could save for the next day or the day after.
Yeah. Sorry to anyone Jewish
So
and
that
or
was the
anything
whole
in
point.
the audience. I'm sorry. I completely butchered that. You're totally right, Taft. That is absolutely what
Aren't
it
you
was.
glad I was here?
Yeah, no, I'm so sorry. I completely
that
forgot
different
the
from
the
the-
symbol-
No.
symbolism of Passover. Yes, I'm sorry. The literal name should have given me an of indication. Passover, as in the angel of death passing them over. Um, anyways, so yeah, the yes, so that is where that tradition comes from. The unleavened or the flat bread, because of Passover, that was what was eaten at the Last Supper, because they were celebrating Passover at the Last Supper, and Jesus was just like, this is now we're going to take this tradition, Passover, and we're going to celebrate my new covenant, which put the old covenant, like you no longer have to, if you don't want to celebrate Passover, now we're going to celebrate like my teachings and like the new covenant of communion. Yes, exactly, communion. That's what it was. So it is extremely unlikely that it was any sort of like psychedelic thing. Like that is an odd hypothetical, because you would think, like, again, kind of an Occam's razor thing, but you would think that like if they were consuming something like that, somebody would have said something, because it's not like they were out in the middle of nowhere. They were having a public like Passover celebration type thing that everybody did, and like they were celebrating as per normal. It even describes what they were eating as the normal bread and drink of the Passover. So I highly doubt it. It's an interesting theory, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, though it does bring up something that I've always found very interesting, which is the relation between drugs and religion.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like mushrooms, weed, even alcohol. Even though I don't really consider that a drug.
If we want to talk about that, that's a big conversation. If we want to do like a part 2 of this and talk about like early religions and stuff like that, we totally can.
I wouldn't call it a part 2.
Hell yeah.
We could just call it an ongoing series.
Yeah.
There's about 6,000 hours
absolutely.
worth of content to talk
so
about.
if we want to do that right now, we can.
However,
I
you
don't
could
think
call
it
it
would do it
electric boogaloo.
justice, because we have to shut down pretty soon here.
I know. I was just kind of bringing it up, being like, hey, we can talk about
if I'm
this
not
later.
mistaken, your father would be really interested to talk about that, right? Because he's usually
mother.
pretty good about that.
I mean, yeah, no,
Oh, and my
like
dad,
he
too.
is very heavily
Yeah, because he did that in like
interested
college
that sort
or
of
something
topic.
like that. Yeah, so I would love to hear about that.
Matt,
We'll do a different series
Matt.
on there.
That
Matt, you're
and
the
he'll
only
have
one that
a
knows.
very interesting.
Oh, I had a really interesting. What? Go on.
No, I'm saying my father would have a very
Okay,
interesting
well, you just
impact on this
doxed
type of
yourself
conversation.
there, Tav.
No.
Did.
That's I vehemently beg to differ, because he shouldn't be name dropping his
Give me
dad.
your victory crown.
I don't think he's.
I'm
I
not-
don't think he
I'm-
said his dad's name.
I haven't
don't
said
think
his
he
name.
said his dad's name.
I'm just saying
I think
my
you were the
father.
only one who heard that, and you just said your own name. Because his dad is not your.
Well,
his
yeah.
dad does not
We'll
have
hear
the
it in
same name
post.
as you, so his dad's name is
What?
completely different from yours. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I'm gonna shadow play my stuff. and
Okay,
I will go back and see if I'm a schizo
after
nightmare.
after I shut this down, I'll talk to you about what his dad's name is, and there's no chance you heard your name when he said his dad's name. If he said his
That's
dad's
okay.
name.
Honestly, I believe you. I believe you just from that.
Yeah, like there is
Yeah.
zero chance.
But,
I'll talk to you after about that. But anyways, we'll like I said, we'll have you. We would love to have your dad on, because I know your dad is very. I've had a question. I've had a conversation with your dad about that up until like 5 a.m.
Yeah, he's studied so many different religions. Hell, he's studied Satanism, Christianity. I think he's done a little bit. I don't know the name of it, but the Indian religion.
It's more like
What?
naturalism.
Y'all know-
It's
what
just like
is that
general naturalism.
Hinduism, yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
Anyway, nobody's going to be able to hear him unfortunately from the recording, but Storm just jumped in and gave us that. Thank you, Storm. We appreciate you.
Yeah. But yeah, he has had a lot of experience and very much enjoys like
Yeah, so we can
like
absolutely
back
make
in his
this an ongoing
back in his
thing.
youth
I
he
think
liked
that
to
this
do
would
that.
be really interesting. And again, for like kind
Okay.
of breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. If anybody in the audience listens to this and wants to have a talk with me about religion, wants to disprove me, wants to just come on and say their own experiences, talk to me. Like message me on
In a
Discord.
civil manner. In a civil.
I will
discourse.
vet you first.
Yes.
To be
You're
fair,
not.
I will
You're
vet
not
you
coming
first,
in
and
here.
I maintain the right to kick you and scrap the recording if it does not remain civil. But I would
Okay, that's a
more
bit of a
than
dictatorship
likely-
move.
This is meant to be a debate, not an
a debate,
argument.
not
Right.
not like
Friendly
yelling
little
at each
debate.
other. Yes. And
Matt
I will-
introduced it as a Matt debates, but like it's
Yes.
a different topic now.
But anyways, yes, it's generally going to be a debate, but it's probably going to be about this specific topic for a while, because there's a lot we can say about this topic. We're about going for like 2 hours now, so
I mean,
I'm
we might
so
wanna
glad I
split
stayed
the
up. I
recording
was
in
gonna go
half.
to bed, and I was
Yeah,
like,
okay,
I want to
so-
be a part of the
So yeah, we
religion
would love
talk.
to
I
have
want to
more
be
people
there.
on, more guests, more people like that. If anybody has any last things
Yes,
to say,
yes,
they can.
Matt.
Go ahead.
For guests, you did mention like, oh, we should have X, Y, and Z dad on. You're the only one on this call who would like know, like, all of you have met my dad at some point.
Yes.
That being said, Matt knows my dad better than all of you to an extent.
I do, yes.
Imagine if we had my dad on this
Your dad
shit.
would be really
we would get
interesting to talk to.
schooled. We would get slaughtered.
Your
Okay,
dad
like,
is
you're
extremely
correcting me here.
intelligent
Then?
when it comes to Bible verses. Yes,
Okay.
your dad knows them.
You're correcting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we correct each other every now and then. Like, oh wait, no, that's incorrect. Hey, you misconstrued this, or you're missing the point for this. My dad would completely blow us out of the water. It would not be close.
I would
We
be
would get
extremely curious.
steamrolled.
Now-
I would be
now I'm
extremely
getting interested,
curious.
but,
Yeah, no. His dad is really interesting to talk to. I would be interested.
Almanac
to see
knowledge
if-
of like biblical doctrine.
I would be
not even kidding.
extremely
Yeah, yeah.
interested to see
But
if
because
your
of this,
dad was, if your dad was interested in talking to me about my. I don't know if your dad would agree with me on my creationism with evolution theory that I have, or my belief.
He would
on
definitely be interested.
Yeah.
I've never actually
I
had
don't
an
know if he
in-depth,
would agree
super
with me on that.
in-depth
I think it would be
conversation.
really interesting to talk about. I would love to have him on. So yes.
I've had that discussion with him before, and I know that was like conjecture that was actually tossed around. It was like, okay, nobody said God literally made the universe in 24-hour segments. And I just remember my dad saying, yeah, that's a completely logical, objection, but God still made it.
That'd be really interesting.
And I was like, he's got a good point right there. God someone still had to shake the box.
Hypothetical. We'll talk about this after the episode for sure. But yeah,
Yes,
if you guys are
absolutely.
interested in that, give us
Yeah,
more
I'll ask my
guest
dad if he's
suggestions.
interested.
I would love. I listen to briefly, kind of again breaking the fourth wall. I listen to a podcast called Who's Right, and they're very much like either agnostic or atheist on that one. However, a lot of the things that they say I also agree with. So open invitation. I know that we have some people who listen to them that are in their audience. If people want us to have one of them on, I would love it if y'all reached out to them, and I will also do the same because I think it would be really interesting to talk to them about religion. These are again some older guys that are that I think will be really interesting to talk to about this. Anyways, moving on. I don't think we genuinely got to wrap this up. So just general wrap up stuff. Thank you anybody who listened to this one. This is a much longer one than normal, but we had a lot of fun with this one. If you enjoy this kind of content, you want to see more of it in the future, give me as much feedback as possible. Those of you who know my Discord, absolutely message me on Discord. You can join our podcast Discord and listen live if you go on our Patreon, patreon.com/BouncyCast. Listen to us on every possible way you can. We appreciate any support. On Spotify, we have a YouTube channel with like waveforms. It's good for listening to stuff in the background. Or if you just want to see the waves go up and down, I know that I like that. And just like anywhere you listen
with
to
how
podcasts.
often we call out each other's names, they'll hear us.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, so we really appreciate anyone listening to us. Support us if you feel it necessary or you want to. We really appreciate any support you give to us. Like I said, if you join the Patreon, you get access to the Discord for free. It's like part of supporting us on Patreon. And you get to listen to us record live if you want to do that. You get to listen to us probably dox ourselves really hard. So sneak peek background stuff. So you get to enjoy that.
I was about to say. I was literally about to say. I was like, okay, maybe we should figure out the pseudonym thing before we bring guests on. Okay.
We'll probably do something about that. And like as well, we're gonna start trying to do some bonus stuff that we're gonna post exclusively on Patreon once we start getting some Patrons. So if you're interested in seeing some more like kind of influencing stuff we do behind the scenes and getting like more specialized content, support us on Patreon and shoot me up with hit me up with like a suggestion like, hey, I'd like to see this on a bonus episode. And if you're the only
This is
patron,
the longest end card I've ever heard.
So yeah, this is very long end card. Suffice to say, thank you all for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.
He has to shell out more because it was so long.